It's a big final in the Aimchess Rapid between Jan-Krzysztof Duda and Shahryar Mamedyarov. And here to guide you through all the moves in this big battle, as always, Grandmaster David Howell, International Master Jovanka, and Grandmaster Simon Williams. And Simon, what should be the strategy in the final?
Push Harry the H-pawn. Attack.
How about if you lose the game? What should you do?
You know what, Kaja? I would resign.
Oh, we're just kidding, of course. But we miss Simon Williams, and today you can win a mug with his face on. So welcome everyone to Aimchess Rapid.
This move I have never seen before.
It's now or never for Giri. You've got to call that prac style.
They're playing like stockfish.
But he's gone for it.
White hanging on, and he's dropped a bishop.
Dropped his bishop.
Handsome mistake.
This is so difficult.
Whoa! Oh!
No way!
Magnus has logged off. What has happened?
Magnus has resigned.
Magnus Carlsen. He is the winner of the Julius Baer Generation Cup. But Magnus Carlsen is not going to win the Aimchess Rapid. He was knocked out in the semifinals yesterday by Jan-Krzysztof Duda, on fire in this tournament. He will now face Shahryar Mamedyarov in this big final. And David, who do you hold as a favorite?
I'm going to say Duda very slightly, just because he did defeat Magnus Carlsen, the best player in the world, and Duda did top the prelim, so he's bang in form. But Shahryar, I'm not going to write him off fully because he's full of surprises.
What do you expect, Jovanka, from Mamedyarov in this final?
I mean, he's been playing spectacular chess throughout the whole tournament, so I expect more of the same. He'll be looking for that creative flair, and we've seen him also be resourceful, tough. He's such a strong and fierce competitor.
And I guess it's almost hard to know what to expect, because we haven't seen this final, a two-day match between these two before. It's kind of refreshing.
Yeah, it's refreshing, and these two, they have been at the top of world chess for a while, but consistency is an issue sometimes, and we've seen Duda shine on the tour, but Mamedyarov up and down, and this is his big chance. So if he can find that consistency, if he can find that solidity, stability, he'll have a chance. But, yeah, it's going to be fascinating.
And can you imagine, Jovanka, it really, really means a lot to both of these two players to now win. Jan-Krzysztof Duda, he's won a major, but not a regular. Do you think it's going to mean a lot to them?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it will be a breakthrough kind of event for both of them, because this is going through the whole knockout process. You have to have nerves of steel. I mean, it will definitely mean the world. And I imagine Mamedyarov, he has a big fan base in Azerbaijan. They're going to get super excited. So will the Polish community if Duda wins. I mean, everyone wins.
Yeah. Hope everyone out there is ready to cheer on their favorite in this final. Now, Magnus Carlsen, he's won 4 tournaments this season, and he's already been crowned the winner of the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour 2022. But in the semifinals yesterday, Jan-Krzysztof Duda proved that the Norwegian is not unbeatable.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately.
This is such a brilliant idea.
He's played it, but this is a losing blunder. I think.
But there is rook f7 or...
But rook f7, any check now is just met by a king move.
Oh, my God.
Oh!
It's just met by a king move. The king is trapped.
Oh, look at Magnus!
Wow, this is really...
Oh! Losing blunder.
He went from completely winning to completely losing in one move.
Wow.
You eventually see a result after all those twists and turns. Wow, okay, Magnus more ambitiously wants to stop the rook coming.
But I don't understand, because the rook can capture, and then the queen can move over to f3,
oh my God,
hitting the f7 pawn, the h5 pawn, and it's on the board. And Magnus just turns away. He hasn't seen this.
Yeah, it's almost over now. Both pawns are dropping.
Magnus Carlsen is knocked out of Aimchess Rapid by Jan-Krzysztof Duda. What a match!
Oh, and we have a check.
Oh, this might be a killer, because white knight is coming in. Both of the black rooks are within range. If the white knight can end up on the c7 square, it will attack and fork both of those rooks.
He just pushes his pawn forward. This is just very nice strategy. All his pawns are safe, and it is in the bag for Shakhriyar.
Mamedyarov doesn't even want to win. He's repeated the position now. It's the second time we've seen this position.
It's over! Shakhriyar Mamedyarov makes it to the big final of Aimchess Rapid. What a performance by the 37-year-old from Azerbaijan. Here it is, Mamedyarov. He started out by knocking out Abdusatorov, a fantastic teenager, in the quarterfinals. Jan-Krzysztof Duda knocked out Vidit in those quarterfinals, and in the semi-finals, a huge one. Jan-Krzysztof Duda knocked out world champion Magnus Carlsen, while Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, in a very entertaining semi-final, knocked out Richard Report. So we do have Duda Mamedyarov in the big final. No Magnus Carlsen. That is always a surprise. And what's been going wrong for Magnus in this tournament, David?
It just feels like he's taken his eye off the ball slightly. He's got other challenges ahead, like the Fischer Random World Championship next week. And Magnus, he has won the tour as a whole, so it must be hard to keep that same level of motivation, the same level of intensity that we've seen throughout the season. So it's understandable with Magnus. Just a few small mistakes here and there.
It feels like we've seen more blunders by Magnus in this tournament. Is that correct?
It does feel that way, especially yesterday in the semi-finals. A few blunders against Duda, a few one-move blunders. And from my experience, that happens a bit with age. You understand more the older you get, but especially in rapid chess, it's hard to keep the consistency. Sometimes you just take your eye off the ball for one move and it can completely turn around. So for Magnus, with so much going on, yeah, that seems to have affected him recently, especially in this tournament.
And Magnus, he also lost the very first game in this tournament to Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, who's played some of the most fantastic games we've seen on the whole tour. What's been up with him in this tournament?
I mean, it helps to start the tournament with a bang, beating the world champion. It's a huge confidence boost, and Mamedyarov, he took that confidence. He crushed Anish Giri, crushed Rapport in 16 moves. It's in the flow. That's what we say in chess terms. He is in the flow. Things are going his way. And sometimes the more you believe in a position, even if your position isn't great, if you believe in it, if you find resources, you can turn things in your favor. And Mamedyarov, he's riding high on that wave right now.
And a final between these two, is two very different styles we're going to see? What kind of games can we expect?
Yeah, different but similar in some way. Both love to be on the front foot, attacking, dictating the pace of the game. Mamedyarov loves to attack with sacrifices, spectacular ideas. Duda also likes to attack, but maybe in a more measured way. He doesn't mind kind of the slower games as well. So Duda may be a more rounded player, more universal player. If it goes to an endgame, I think Duda might be a small favorite, but Mamedyarov, if he gets his type of position, that fire is almost unstoppable.
Wow. We do have 2 days of entertaining chess ahead of us. In the final, first, a match today with 4 rapid games. Either we have a winner or they tie this very first match, and then a new match tomorrow, again with 4 rapid games. And if they are tied after these 2 matches, then tomorrow it will be decided in blitz tiebreaks. Jan-Krzysztof Duda, he is on fire coming into the final, playing some great chess. He is now 24 years old, had some great results over the last 2 years, and all his victories are celebrated with his mother.
I was born in Krakow, and when I was 1, I moved to Wieliczka, which is a city nearby. Only me and my mom. My father died when I was 2. So actually my mom did a lot of job, not only to make me a human being, but also just surviving, because it was a very difficult time for her. She thought I might be good in chess and signed me to the chess club in my local town Wieliczka when I was 5, and yeah, I quickly became quite good at chess, and that's how my career has started.
Jan-Krzysztof Duda is very grateful to his mother. She sacrificed a lot to help her son reach his potential as a chess player.
Yeah, she was working, but was somehow managed, to cope with my chess, and yeah, I traveled with her a lot. Actually, my mom spotted that I might be good at chess because I was capable of playing with one toy, for example, for a very long time, like a couple of hours. And she thought that chess might be good for me. Also, chess was known in my family because her sister, my aunt, was a former Polish women's champion. So yeah, well, that's how it started.
Jan-Krzysztof also had qualities that quickly made him one of the best Polish chess players of his age.
I was very competitive, even in my youngest age, and I think I quickly became to pose danger for my opponents, winning quite a lot of tournaments. I dominated Polish Youth Championships, so then I played under 18, and I was 12, I think, or 13, and I won it, and that was, that. And I moved to play more international tournaments, and also was junior world champion under 10 back in 2008 in Vung Tau in Vietnam. So a lot of successes.
His biggest achievement so far came in August when he won the World Cup. Immediately after winning the final against Sergei Karyakin, he called his mother.
Yeah, but obviously she was extremely happy. Everyone was. It was kind of shock for everyone, including myself. And it just like a dream, It's very special and kind of bizarre feeling, to be honest. And obviously, everyone was extremely happy.
What a story Jan-Krzysztof Duda has. He lost his dad when he was very little, grown up with his mother to become one of the best chess players in the world. And what has happened for him over the last, I would say, maybe 2 years? It seems he's now winning a lot, just more confident maybe?
Yeah, definitely. That win in the World Cup definitely boosted his confidence, really propelled him into the elite levels. And overnight, he became a Polish sensation, superstar. And with their backing, he just seems to be getting stronger and stronger. And now on the tour, we've seen kind of the same evolution. First, Magnus was a bit of his nemesis. And these last two events, so we saw him defeat Magnus in the FTX Crypto Cup, and just yesterday, just shows that he's getting better and better.
Yeah, and we can see it on the tour ratings as well. Magnus Carlsen is still the highest rated Champions Chess Tour player, 2848, but Jan-Krzysztof Duda now also above 2800. How impressed are you with that number, David?
Yeah, extremely impressed. All of these numbers are huge. They're world-class numbers, but for Duda, that's another level. Not many people in classical chess, at least, over the board chess, have reached that number ever in history. I think the number's around 20, and okay, this is rapid, but still incredibly impressive because he is fighting against some of the most promising, some of the most dangerous, fast players in the world. Duda leveling up.
And I think a big question, especially for many Polish fans, is he good enough to become world champion one day?
That's a big question. He's still young enough. He's still in his early mid-20s. Different players mature at different levels. He's now a much more all-round player than he was just 2 years ago, as you mentioned. So he's capable. He's still got time, and he's now beating the top players in the world on a relatively consistent basis. So I wouldn't be that surprised, but still areas of his game that might need work. And we saw that in the candidates earlier this year when he got a bit emotional in some positions and kept overplaying his hand, kept pushing too hard and kind of losing control of positions. So still some work, but he's showing promising signs.
Yeah, he's capable. He is one or two players now left in Aimchess Rapid to fight for the title. Let's head into the play zone. We started out with 16 players spread out all over the world, but we are left with 2 players. Duda, he is playing from Poland. It's going to be 6 o'clock in the evening when the game starts. Mamedyarov playing from windy Baku, we could hear yesterday. And let's hear what the 2 players said yesterday after making it to the final.
Yeah, I'm very happy, of course. Wouldn't expect to win 3-1, especially after our last match when I was leading 2-0 and managed only to win in tiebreaks. So that's for sure a big thing. Facing
Jan-Krzysztof Duda in that big final, what do you expect when playing him? He's been on top form as well this tournament.
Yeah, he's in top. Yeah, I mean, and of course, I think in online chess tournaments he played very good. Also, of course, in normal classical chess he played well. But in this tournament, I lost him in group tournaments. But okay, I mean, it will be a very interesting tournament. Very interesting final, and I think he's very strong, he's very good, and we see today he beat Magnus and okay, I mean, maybe he's a little bit favorite because he's good in online, but nothing to lose. I mean, I will try to show my best and to play till the end.
We apologize. The loud win in the background for Mamadjarov, and imagine playing chess with that noise in the background. Will you have to deal with that today, Jovanka?
No, I just checked the weather forecast on Shakriar's behalf, and I can see just a light breeze. So he's safe, and our
safe
ears
today.
are also safe.
Yeah,
From that noise.
that was loud. These are the Aimchess head-to-head stats. What can we read out of these numbers, David?
Well, in general, it's actually very balanced. We saw that Shakriar very resourceful, turning around difficult positions quite a lot. But in other aspects, Duda was slightly ahead. So, yeah, it's going to be a very, very close match.
And here we go. The final has started.
Yeah, here we go. A Queen's Pawn opening. What will Duda choose to play here? Okay, it's a variation we call the Nimzo Indian, with Black's bishop coming out very early, pinning that white knight. And a solid variation. This is regarded as very solid for White, not taking too many risks. Usually here, White gets a set of doubled pawns in this opening, but not now. Although White's queen has spent quite a bit of time so far, and Shakriar's played this plenty of times.
I think so, he has, and also a favourite of Garry Kasparov, Vishy Anand, and here I can see that in 2018, Mamadjarov did in fact draw this game with the white pieces against Fabiano Caruana, I should say.
Yeah, Mamadjarov, I think I remember games as far back as 2014, maybe even earlier, where he was playing this variation, and he's got a very solid reputation for Black. Black's last move, very logical. I had this myself recently, actually, from the white side, but often Black's bishop as well goes to attack that white queen. That would have been another option. White's queen is the vulnerable piece. She often has to lose a lot of time in this variation. On the plus side, White has the two bishops. White has an extra pawn in the centre of the board right now, and the white knight springs forward.
Yeah, this one, just checking, is not the most popular move. In fact, played once by Jordan van Foreest against Vidit, and January 2022. So what was that?
Vaikanze.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that was very theoretical battle between Jordan van Foreest, very well-known opening theoretician, and Vidit, opening expert. Mamadjarov. The fact he's played this so quickly means he's studied that game before. And yeah, it's interesting. Like you said, normally the white knight doesn't spring forward because it's kind of breaking the rules. That knight's already been developed once. To move it twice before you've completed developing your other pieces, before you've castled as white, it feels a bit risky.
It definitely does, especially when you add in the fact that the queen has also been on a journey as well. I mean, it's much more standard to actually relocate the rook in the corner, just move that one to an open line. But instead, we have this wild position, and I can tell you that when Vidit faced this particular move with the black pieces, he actually stepped forward with the queen 2 squares, and he got ready to break out into the centre and challenge the d-pawn by pushing c5.
Yeah, this is White's stronghold in the centre. You want to undermine it, you want to attack it. This would be very logical. How did the game continue there, Jovanka?
OK, so... Oh, we've seen it. OK, so, White played the move e3, liberating the light squared bishop, and then c5 came. OK. And then bishop retreated to the f4 square, asking questions of the black queen.
Yeah, indirectly threatening her, and yeah, very tense position, I guess. Often we see this type of scenario, and even if the black queen were to drop back, it's all about pawn structures. So if black can take the white pawn on his terms, for example, now, let's say white moves the rook, just as an example, the pawn structure is very symmetrical, very balanced, and chances tend to be roughly level. But if white can do the damage to the black pawn structure, for example, going back to this position, if white can take this black pawn, black has other options, but if black captures, then white is better because these two are separated. So it's small margins. We're talking about tiny little details like pawn structure, but that's the theme now for the middle game. Shakriar looking for ways to increase the white advantage long term. He's got the bishop pair, but this is the current position, and how to utilize it, this one still fast asleep at home.
OK. He's definitely got to get developed, and whilst Mamadjarov is considering what to do, we are expecting the pawn to push forward. Well, we are running a competition today, so we're asking you at home to send us your best chess joke, and one lucky winner will win our good friend Simon Ginger GM, his mug. And you can send us your jokes on Twitter using the hashtag #ChessChamps. Do you know any chess jokes?
No. We had one yesterday about
Checkmate.
dating in Prague.
Yeah.
Looking for a checkmate.
And I remember the punchline of one joke, which was like, yeah, it was a rookie mistake.
Aha. Yeah.
There's this famous one. It's
Chestnuts boasting on an open fire.
yeah. Chestnuts boasting on an open
fire.
foyer.
Yeah.
So it's like, what did... Yeah. But there must be better ones out there.
Yeah, that's a
We need our
Christmas
viewers to
cracker
help.
joke.
Yeah. I bet our viewers have the coolest chess jokes, so please send them for a chance to win this very nice coffee mug or tea cup, whatever you want to use it for. Imagine starting your day with Simon Williams. Best start to the day.
Yeah, we miss him, and this is our way of acknowledging that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Duda has surprised Mamedyarov, seemingly. I was praising Mamedyarov for having done his opening research so well, being aware of that game, but Duda kind of continues in the way we expected, following that game, and Mamedyarov stops.
We barely got to see the Aimchess stats before it started, so maybe we should bring them up again. Just, do you think these are very correct according to their styles? And I'm especially thinking of Mamedyarov with the accuracy, which is very high.
I mean, Mamedyarov's stats are surprising in the accuracy, but also he's a self-proclaimed, middle game lover, and the endgame stats are very high for Mamedyarov, 75%. So I'm slightly surprised they are that high in terms of accuracy in endgame, but he's a very good player, as we know. And Duda nearly matches him in those two departments anyway. Yeah, Mamedyarov, though, ahead on advantage capitalization, ahead on resourcefulness too.
Ahead on everything except for decisiveness and wins.
Exactly. So decisiveness, that means Duda wins and loses more, which is really surprising. Mamedyarov's known as a player who's kind of all out, all or nothing type of chess. So some surprises, more on Mamedyarov's side than Duda's side. Duda's side looks, at least to me, relatively accurate. And yeah, we'll see how those stats play off in this match.
Yeah. How about the way they spend time? Who is more sensible when it comes to spending time? Because Mamedyarov now spent 4 minutes on this move.
And he plays the move we expected, the most natural move. Yeah, that's a very good question, Kaja. Actually, both of these two players, they can play very quickly when they're in the flow, when they're on form, when they're confident. But we have seen Duda occasionally get into time trouble when he plays the very best players like Magnus. We see Shak occasionally get into time trouble, but that's normally when he's struggling on the board as well. If Shak's doing well in the position, he very rarely pauses for too long. So, yeah, a 4-minute think there, still in the opening. It's slightly worrying. And, this is one thing I noticed when I've played Shak myself as well. Of course, he's very well prepared, but it's maybe not to the same level as some of the very top players in the world, the Caruanas, the Magnuses. They know all the little details. Shak sometimes stops, and then he's like, yeah, I'll freestyle it from here, or it looks like my type of position. But he has to work it out over the board himself, and still continuing along those lines that we mentioned earlier.
And on that point, I mean, I do remember Anish Giri's interview where he talked about the game where Shakhriyar just played the best game of his life. And he said the scenario was actually very similar to this type of game. You know, he played the opening very slowly, and Anish thought, right, he's got nothing on the table. He's got no hidden surprises. And then before you knew it, he was just wiped off the board. I mean, he had no chance whatsoever. So that was a surprise. And Mamedyarov is capable of that. Yes, OK, maybe he might be freestyling in the opening, but he's very capable of figuring out what are the best moves and putting the pressure on Duda, and that's what he needs to do. And just to kind of just to reinforce, in the one game that I have on the database in this particular position, the white bishop sitting on g5 just retreated 1 square to face off against the queen. Do you think Mamedyarov will play that, or do you think he'll play something a bit more?
I don't know, it feels like it's not Mamedyarov's style to retreat. So I have a feeling he won't drop back White's dark squared bishop. He'll maybe bring White's rook to the centre, trying to find what else to do. It's actually quite hard to suggest moves. White's knight doesn't really want to move. White's pawn in the centre is stuck defending that white knight. White's queen doesn't look like it has anywhere to go. So I'm going to narrow it down. I'll say it's that white rook or it's the white dark squared bishop.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think the more I look at the position, the more retreating the dark squared bishop makes sense, because it reinforces the protection of the knight and then allows white, that is, to capture the pawn on c5.
Yeah, so this is the pawn you want to capture. First, you need to defend your knight. Of course, if you capture this pawn now, the knight just drops off to the black queen. So that's the reasoning for this move. The bishop dropping back also creates a threat. So after pawn takes pawn, I guess we can jump out with our knight. Not sure exactly where. For example, here, and it's a double attack, hitting the queen, hitting the black rook as well. We'll win one of those two pieces. So that would create a direct threat. In the current position, yeah, I was also wondering, it feels like it might be Shaq's style to just move. Oh, sorry, you were going to say, Jovanka?
Bishop takes knight. I
I
was running through the CCTs. I'm trying to make it a point that when I look at these positions, like checks, captures, threats, because I forget them.
Makes sense.
And this is an alternative as well.
And you leave black with double pawns. The problem, the one downside, is that the knight is attacked now. You have to retreat it. And where do you go? You could go back this way, eyeing up this pawn, maybe planting a check at some point, but you don't have any escape squares here, so if black can deal with this, maybe... OK, he does play this move. Wow, Jovanka, you're right. Checks, captures, and threats. He captures the knight. And the problem here that I was seeing is that, for example, black can continue attacking this knight, and you're running out of squares. Maybe you can give a check. We're going to see what Shaq has in mind in the current position, but big question, where is he going to put this knight? He's moved his queen 3 times as white. He's moved his dark squared bishop twice. It's gone now. And now this knight is going to have to move a 3rd time. He's breaking all the rules. Mamedyarov, don't move the same piece more than once in the opening. That's what they say. He's forgetting that one. And you have to be good in order to break the rules. He's good enough, but also not that many attacking pieces. If you retreat this knight, for example, back here or back here, you're still playing without your bishop, without your rooks. Doesn't feel too great, I've got to say. Duda looks very calm.
Yeah, he looks like such a boss sitting like that. Looks like an evil...
James Bond villain.
Yeah. Just missing the cat on the lap, right?
Yeah.
I mean, are the players allowed to have a cat or a pet?
Oh, definitely. Didn't we see Wesley So have his cat?
Yeah.
Ponchuk has been...
Ponchuk has definitely been part of the celebrations. I was thinking, in the room, but on the lap. Oh, and the knight does retreat to the square from where it came from.
We're not allowed any external assistance, right, during chess. So what happens if the cat suddenly meows out a good move? And I don't know.
Well, then I
think...
think...
Could be distracting for the players too.
If the cat meows out a good move...
Move the horse.
Then I think cheating is not the first thing we think about. Then we call some circus and, yeah.
We'll be rich.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the knight drops back to the square it came from, and I've got to say, it doesn't look too impressive to me what Shaq is doing. Again, freestyling, that's guaranteed at this point. He's spent a lot of time on the clock. Shaq almost 5 minutes down on time, and his knight's back where it came from. Yes, he's doubled the black pawns, but in this opening variation, you normally double the black pawns anyway, so you've kind of wasted 2 moves with the white knight, and you haven't really achieved much. White still needs a move with the bishop. White still needs to get his king to safety. So Duda here can trade a set of pawns in the centre. He can just develop black's knight. Would you capture the white knight? This is a big question, I guess, that Duda's contemplating.
I would say no. I would not touch that knight at all. With not even if you tempted me, not even if you offered me money, David, I would say absolutely not. Because, I mean, just to compare the two, the black bishop is just beautiful. It's sitting on a long diagonal. It's potentially pointing to where the king is going to go. I mean, much better to get developed, move the knight, put the rooks towards the centre. I think the black king is safe, even though it is exposed.
Yeah.
Better...
Could always hide in the corner if it needs to.
Exactly. I mean, there's no dark square bishop to terrorise black, so, yeah, keep the tension. I don't even think I would trade pawns as well.
Okay.
I would keep that on the board for as long as possible.
So let white trade on on your terms, essentially.
Yes.
So bring the black knight out. That looks like the most sensible move to me as well. I'm just wondering, because Duda is thinking now for over 2 minutes, is he slightly tempted? He loves kind of imbalanced positions, whether it's bishops versus knights, queen versus 2 rooks, some kind of imbalanced material situations. He loves that type of thing. So bishop takes knight, I agree, it doesn't look great, but, for example, after pawn takes pawn, okay, there's a file open towards the black king, but also where is white's king going? It's not really going this way, or at least... maybe it could. I was going to say, I don't think so. But,
I don't think Shaq would even capture the pawn in the centre. He would give it away.
Yeah, he'd give it away. And maybe you do castle queenside. I was going to say there's no safe haven for the king, but here maybe white could get away with castling because the king is actually running away to safety. And instead, Duda doesn't go for this capture, maybe scared of opening up a line towards the black king. Very sensible. Instead, he just trades a set of pawns. And wow, a queen exchange as well has happened. And black's knight has come out. It looks like we're headed towards very dull equality in this game so far. Knights are off the board as well. Look at the pawn structure. Apart from this small blemish for black, it's completely level. And all white needs to do to equalize this game is bring the bishop out. OK, he's going to push the pawn first just to cut this bishop's diagonal. He's going to bring his bishop out, move his king, and yeah, the white rooks will connect. I think we'll see a quick draw, unfortunately, in this first game.
I said that to both of you.
You did?
Actually, I suspect that the position, you know, I said to you that the way that these two play, you know, there will be some action right at the beginning. There will be some potential heat, and then it will be decided very, very quickly. I mean, I have noticed these games that they play with each other. I mean, they're just very aggressive early on. And usually when that's the case, the complications fizzle out or they sizzle, and you have a result very quickly.
Well, I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's fast and furious chess.
Yeah.
OK, this one turned out to be most likely a draw, but we will see games where it's fast, furious, and it's decided in one side's favour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, neither of these players then not really known for their long grinds and for trying to, you know, outlast, tire out the opponent.
No rook and bishop endgame.
Rooks and bishops are on the board still. Don't tempt fate. Don't tempt fate.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, this one is so balanced. I'm expecting as well, because there are two open lines on the board, the C file and the D file. Those two open lines, the rooks will come to them, they'll swap off, they'll neutralise each other. And yeah, draw. Look at Duda, he knows as well, not much life left in this one. But it's a good result for Duda, we've got to say. Shaq is so much more dangerous with white than he is with black. Shaq with black just can't get his type of attacking position quite often, or at least if you don't give it to him, he struggles sometimes. But yeah, with white, he's blown many players off the board. Not Duda in this one, though.
No, absolutely not. And, OK, so let's pretend that Shaq is in a must-win situation.
You wouldn't have chosen this queen exchange.
But somehow he did. And this is the position that's in front of him. If he wanted to grind it out into a win, how would the grindmaster do it?
Even I would struggle to drag this game much longer. I guess one idea for white long-term, imagine all the rooks disappear from the board, then white's king could start walking. White's king can walk towards that black h-pawn. Black's h-pawn over there on the side is isolated. The problem is you can't get too far if the black king blocks you off, but I guess you could walk towards that. I would put all of white's pawns on dark squares long-term, because you have a light-squared bishop. I mean, black's pawn weakness, the doubled f-pawns, the problem is you don't have knights to go and attack them. Knights are the best piece at attacking kind of pawn weaknesses, not bishops. So it's, yeah, it's hard to find.
Hard work, right?
Optimism.
We need Duda. You'd need Duda to basically give you a helping hand. And I agree with you. It's very, very difficult to see. I mean, for me, I wouldn't have actually dreamt of exchanging rooks. I thought, well, perhaps the white rook could try to take control of the C line and try to control that one. Is that a possibility? Say, for instance, the white rook can step forward, attack the bishop.
Yeah, so black's move, first of all, I'm guessing that Duda, for example, let's say he just plays a quiet move. The problem is if you try and occupy one open file, black will stop you there. Black can challenge. I'm not sure exactly what you do here. The problem is if you ever move the white king, you have to be slightly careful that the black rook doesn't come down to the second rank. OK, he plays a more aggressive move and putting his bishop on the edge of the board. Maybe Duda's the one playing for the win.
Yeah.
He's stopping the white rook using this square to challenge black's supremacy on the D file.
David, I think we're potentially seeing a repetition brewing. OK, look, they're going to play copycat. The bishops are going to flee from each other. and keep on doing this dance.
If Black's bishop moves, White's bishop will go back and say, please trade. And yeah, you're right, Jovanka. I don't think actually Black wants to trade off bishops because suddenly that would help White activate his rook from the corner. And that's why the players there doing that dance. I think we'll see a draw any moment. Shak is repeating the position. And let's go back to the players. A very quick result in game one, it looks like.
20 minutes. The first game is about to last. Okay, Mamedyarov double checking if there is anything. But
there isn't.
It's a draw the first game. After 20 minutes, they finish with a draw. Mamedyarov with the white pieces, so now he only has one more game in this first match with the white pieces. But is he one of those players that is just as likely to win with the black pieces?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw him defeat Richard Rapport with the black pieces in 16 moves.
Yeah.
So, you know, you cannot put anything past Mamedyarov. So, I mean, I think that what happens is he tends to play like a normal opening, and then the magic begins to happen and the creativity strikes and chaos ensues. And I think that Duda will be a lot more ambitious in the opening with the white pieces as well.
Yeah, because what went wrong, I guess, for Mamedyarov with the white pieces in this game? Wasn't the plan good enough? Was Duda too well prepared? What happened?
Yeah, I think a bit of both there, Kaja. So first of all, the opening choice. Mamedyarov has played that many times, but it always seems to lead to a draw. He knows the ideas, of course, but if he meets a really well-prepared opponent who knows all the defensive ideas for black, he's always kind of banging his head against a brick wall, and that opening line is known as very drawish in general.
Okay.
So even for a magician, a genius like Shak, a creative maestro, it's hard to create if your position doesn't give you the foundation. And of course, Duda came well prepared.
Yep.
As soon as Shak was surprised, his reflex was to, oh, OK, I'm going to shut down this game and move on.
Yeah.
And that's not a good sign for Shak, I would say. And yeah, I think Duda, if he can get a quieter type of position, favourite in the next one.
Yeah, and the next one will start in little less than now 14 minutes. Duda with the white pieces in game two. Let's see if we will have some more action in that one. We're going to take a quick commercial break now. When we come back, we're going to talk to Zubair from Meltwater about the social media leaderboard.
Seriously? Checkmate. Aimchess is an intelligent system that analyzes your game, prevents mistakes, and develops recommendations for improving your skill. Phew.
Turn Welcome to the new Chess24 playing experience. Play in light mode or dark mode. Choose from a range of time controls or create a custom game. And get paired with players from around the world, fast. Enjoy a polished playing experience while making moves on a fresh, responsive board to claim your victories. Train and improve with over 80,000 puzzles. And that's not all. Download now and discover what more you can enjoy in our brand new app.
So we just race to the line. I'm definitely gonna crush it. Set, go!
When someone asks me how my chess game is going,
sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
Welcome back to the final of Aimchess Rapid. Please follow Meltwater Champions Chess Tour on social media. We're both on Twitter and on Instagram. And right now we're going to talk about social media. I'm joined by Zubair from our title partner, Meltwater. Nice to see you, Zubair.
Hi, Kaja. It's great to see you again. Pleasure to join you live from Dubai.
Can you believe it? It's the second to last tournament. Only the big tour final left to be played after a long season.
I know, right? And what feels like only started yesterday will shortly come to an end, right? But what a ride it's been. And I must begin by saying congratulations to everyone at the Champions Chess Tour. Since we last spoke, we've actually been in London where we picked up the award for Best Digital Entertainment at Leaders in Sport. So I think that was a fantastic achievement. So congratulations to all the players, all the participants, the broadcast team, and of course to our viewers as well.
That was huge. Meltwater, together with Champions Chess Tour, have been able to do huge things for chess. And before we take a look at the social media leaderboard, Zubair, you have to remind us, what is it that Meltwater is all about?
For sure. Well, as the sport of chess continues to grow globally, providing access and excitement to viewers across the world, Meltwater feels truly privileged in collaborating with the Champions Chess Tour as we seek to communicate the sporting and community benefits of chess. So Meltwater, as a company, originated in Oslo, Norway, and is now a major global player in the field of online and social media monitoring. So we help our clients across a variety of sectors to monitor, analyze, and act upon digital insights. So similar to chess, which is based on information available for both players, we help businesses make better real-time decisions based on the data provided.
Yeah, and it was so interesting in the last tournament when we took a look at the social media leaderboard in a tournament that was super dramatic. Magnus resigned against Hans Niemann. There were cheating allegations, just a bunch of drama happening. Has it been a little bit calmer in this tournament?
Yes, it's definitely been a little bit calmer, but what I can say is that the sport of chess continues to grow mainstream. I mean, who would have thought that we would have had a 10-minute segment on NBC across all of America? So when you look at the total conversations happening, it shows that chess is very much at the forefront of conversations.
And if we take a look at the social media leaderboard, who has been the most popular player in this tournament?
Well, it will come as no surprise that the #1 spot has been taken by Magnus Carlsen. Magnus, of course, is the most popular player as he dominated the leaderboard with over 14,000 mentions across Twitter, blogs, Reddit, and other sources too. What's interesting is that Carlsen's share of voice is a combination of sporting and current affairs coverage based on recent events. An interesting piece here is that the content around his fitness routine with Puma garnered over 19,000 views on Twitter alone. So in many ways, the global coverage, supporting content and social mentions continue to be unprecedented. Looking at that top three, we have a newcomer in the name of Arjun, who defeated Magnus and made the headlines. And the top three is complete with Anish Giri. But there's also a notable mention for Gukesh, who is just outside that top three, but he also recorded that victory over Magnus. So nice to see some newer faces in that top 10.
We see several teenagers and, 4 Indian players. Is chess becoming simply huge in India?
Absolutely. If we take a look at the next set of data that we provide, what we've seen here is that amongst the countries talking about chess, there is a very clear leader in the middle there in terms of India. The share of voice has been dominating the social media landscape due to the number of Indian players and their stunning victories. So to give you a flavor of the coverage, chess has been mentioned in respective broadsheets, across TV, and some commentaries even compared these younger victories over Magnus in the same realms as the Indian cricket team winning a World Cup, which if you know anything about the sport of cricket in India, that's indeed high praise. But the growth overall of the social media footprint is very encouraging as we want to grow the sport across multiple global markets. So US, Poland, Norway, and Germany complete the country leaderboard. So before I go into it, I know you're always interested about the emojis, but isn't it cool, Kaja, to see that level of global coverage?
Definitely. It's super cool. India on top, US, such a big country. We also see Germany there. That is so cool to see.
Absolutely. Well, when you look at the underlying data in terms of keywords, for example, to the left, the youngest player, of course, is a reference to many young Indians now coming out and really performing really well on this higher stage. The Queen features too as a reflective piece around Magnus's own defeat and his own commentary. And then on a light-hearted note, the emojis. We've seen so many of those over the tournament. That analysis really shows how people are feeling about it. And so far, we've seen the Indian national flag, the Champions Cup that's up there, and a picture of a goat. So for those people tuning in, I can reassure you, no goat was playing in a game of chess, no goat was involved, but that, of course, is a reference to the greatest of all time in the sense that it's Magnus. So overall, this data tells us that the community around chess is growing and the social engagements continue to create more conversation.
Music to my ears. Zubair, thank you again for sharing social media insights with us. And we'll see you again next month, San Francisco.
Looking forward to it. See you all there.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we did see a goat in the top emojis there, greatest of all times. And someone who has been mentioned as greatest of all times in chess is Bobby Fischer. 50 years ago, he became world chess champion. And in the next break, we're going to take a look at the world championship match in 1972.
Today, we're going to meet the main organizer of that famous 1972 match.
He was one of the big heroes. He was this very creative, strange genius.
And they took under my arms and took me to the stage. Get up there, you foolish man, and open the match.
Well, I'd like to be a world champion and keep it for maybe 20 years or so.
And then he said, you have to solve this on a higher level. Higher level?
This is the area. So exactly here they would have played.
A meter from the podium, I decided to open it, like nothing had happened. We believe that it was his own wish to be outside, far away from most of the crowd.
And he just somehow pressed their shoulders to start playing.
The Americans want you to go to Iceland and beat the Soviet Union. It's of vital importance. Bobby Fischer changed at this moment. His face became like that of a soldier going to a war.
David, together with Askild and cameraman Björn, traveled to Iceland earlier this year to walk in the footsteps of Bobby Fischer and Boris Baski. Fischer became world chess champion in Iceland 50 years ago this year, and in only a few days, the Fischer Random World Championship with Magnus Carlsen, Wesley So, Hikaru Nakamura, and other players will start in Iceland. So we're going to build up to that in the next breaks and also tomorrow. But now, game 2 is coming up here in the final between Jan-Krzysztof Duda and Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. White pieces for Duda. In this one, we did have a quick, rather quick draw in the first one. Do you think we'll see some more action in this one, David?
Definitely see more action. Already, Duda is playing a very provocative opening. This one I've played myself many times before as white. It's the Reti opening, but this last pawn push does invite black's central pawn, black's d pawn, to push forward in the center, and this is a significant risk. It doesn't have a great reputation for white, and okay, Mamedyarov doesn't play the critical move. He doesn't seize the ball by the horns. He captures a pawn, and he's trying to make this look like a queen's gambit accepted. It looks like black grabbed a pawn, the queen's gambit, and white later won the pawn back, but white's central pawn, the d pawn, hasn't committed to the center. So white is very flexible in these types of positions.
Yeah, and intriguingly, I'm just checking the database, and I can see that Mamedyarov has played this before and lost, although it was a blitz game.
Okay, so he lost with the black pieces.
With the black pieces, yeah.
Against?
Diak.
Okay.
A strong Romanian grandmaster.
Yeah.
Okay. And he seems to be nearly repeating the same type of approach. So it is just simply to push this pawn forward and develop the pieces.
Yeah, and the big difference between this game and the first game we saw today is that all the pieces remain on the board, and they likely will for at least the next 10 or 15 moves. Maybe that's optimistic, 15 moves, but for the next 10 moves, it's just about keeping pieces on the board. Maybe Duda at some point will extend in the center with white. White has 2 pawns on the E and D files in the middle. Black only has 1, so unless Duda is really in the mood to make exchanges and kind of finds a way, then I think we'll get a much bigger fight. And what do you think, Jovanka? Kind of surprising choice from Duda in a way. I haven't seen him play like this many times before.
I wasn't necessarily surprised by Duda's opening choice. I was surprised more by Mamedyarov capturing that pawn, because it's not something I've seen too often at the higher levels. And I think what we're going to see here is, again, what I call baseline tennis, chess. You know, white's simply going to castle, black's going to also develop light squared bishops. All the pieces are going to be within their own turf, and they'll be just lobbying those shots to one another. And then when there is a break in the center, the position will explode.
Yep. So not going to explode yet. Duda thinking the most natural move here, I guess, would be to castle the white king. You could push a couple of different pawns as well, but not for the first time today. This knight jump has surprised us. It surprised us in the first game, and surprising again. I guess there's a specific idea in mind, but it looks a bit superficial. White's using the same piece twice in the opening. We criticised Mamedyarov for that earlier. And Jovanka, is this a novelty?
Not a novelty. It's been played before.
Okay.
But just one person tried it out, and it was a draw. So I'm guessing the idea, as you referred to, was basically to stop black developing the light squared bishop.
Yeah, so this is always the problem piece in actually many black openings, but the whole idea for black would normally be to attack this bishop, and this would allow white to jump forward with the queen and hit the rook in the corner. I'm not sure how effective this is. The rook in the corner isn't quite trapped. The rook can actually move 1 square, so this would have been maybe okay. White's bishop under fire might have to retreat, but instead Mamedyarov moved a knight, and Duda, he's really been creative. This knight in the center was challenged, and he's defended it with the f-pawn. You nearly never see this in the Reti opening, white pushing forward with the f-pawn. The idea is just to defend the knight.
Yeah, it feels like he's borrowing ideas from other openings, like maybe in Sicilian defense, where you get this particular idea of just maybe retreating the knight and then lunging forward with the f-pawn. Again, sorry, I cannot resist it. I just love pushing my pawns forward. I love just elongating those diagonals. I can't help it.
Yeah, Duda loves it too, Jovanka.
Yeah.
Loves pushing those pawns forward.
And I do think it's asking a little bit much from the position. I mean, if I were black, I would just look at my opponent and go, well, maybe what's stopping me from but perhaps kicking back the bishop.
Yeah, for example, attacking this bishop. Maybe Duda's idea again is the same, to attack this rook in the corner. Maybe this is a bit awkward to deal with. Now the big difference is that if black's rook moves, the white knight could jump forward. A lot of calculation to be done here. It's not 100% clear the consequences of this one. For example, it could get really complicated if black pins the white knight along this diagonal. But yeah, some calculation to be done already. Do you think Duda, if he's given time, he'll start throwing more pawns forward, Jovanka? You mentioned you love pushing pawns.
Yeah,
it's possible.
The whole hog. This is what we want to see. We heard from Ginger GM earlier on in the show. Attack! Push Harry!
We have a new Daniel Naroditsky in your invitations here, David.
I'm not sure I'm as accurate as Naroditsky is with his. But either way, it looks like Duda's intention is to attack. And Shaq is facing the attack this time. He's not used to that situation. He normally wants to be the one on the front foot. Interesting strategy from Duda. I do like where his bishops are placed as well. Normally when you have bishops like this on the long diagonals, that's a signal. Go forward. F for forward, he's pushing the F pawn, and Duda on the front foot.
Okay, so this does this look like a game that will end up with a winner, or at least some chaos?
Chaos, I think, most likely.
Yeah.
Too early maybe to say win, lose, draw, but Duda's going for it. Do you think this is a strategy in general, Jovanka, against Mamedyarov? Solid with black, attack with white?
Well, I did have a look at the database earlier on this morning, and I did check out the games that these two have played, especially on the tour, and it just seems that they play very wild games. You know, one of them, I mean, it's always both of them are at fault here. Both of them just kind of lunge for the other. They initiate this complicated, random position, and then, you know, something will happen. There'll be a roller coaster of a game, and you'll see a result within move 40. So it's exciting anyhow, and there we see Mamedyarov step forward with his g-pawn, perhaps just to solidify his pawn structure there on the right and get ready to develop the dark squared bishop. And the bar did not like that at all. It suddenly, now it's adjusting itself. It was a bit overexcited there.
It does look very risky, very counterintuitive to open up the diagonal of white's dark squared bishop. If you look at white's dark squared bishop on b2, the diagonal, suddenly black's rook in the corner, feels a bit vulnerable. Maybe it's fine, it's holding together for now. But I'm impressed Mamedyarov had this move on his radar. Even I would never have dreamed of picking up that pawn. And, OK, Duda smiling? Oh, it looked like he was about to smile. He kind of cut himself off. Now frowning again. He really looks like the boss, just...
Yeah, I know.
I like David's evil laughter. Yeah. And we're talking about laughter, and today we're asking you guys at home to send us your best chess joke. And Woke Jokes says to us, so I was having dinner with Garry Kasparov. Problem was, we had a checkered tablecloth, and it took him 2 hours to pass the salt. And Heidi the H-Pawn says, sorry, Kaja, what does Kaja scream every time she passes by the good night in Oslo?
Look at the bar! I'm going to start doing that now. Very nice.
Love it.
Yeah, it's very good.
Maximalist asks us, which knight always loses at chess? This is a nice one. Don't look at the punchline. Oh, no.
I haven't looked.
I've seen it. Whoops.
It's very good.
Always loses at chess?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Surrender.
Surrender.
Surrender. Surrender. It's my sense of humour. I love these puns. I know some people don't like them, but I do. So keep them coming. Send us your best chess jokes on the hashtag ChessChamps, and one lucky winner will win a mugshot of Simon on a mug.
Yeah. Very cool, you guys. And Duda now thinking for 2.5 minutes on this move. He is in move 9. And they have played each other 14 times altogether on the tour, these two, leading up to today, before today started. Can you guess the score between them?
7-7. No. I should have done my research.
7.
Oh, I meant including draws, but...
Yeah. I don't know their overall score, but I do know that on tour final, it went to tie breaks. They both had a win apiece. And then Duda was just overwhelmingly good in the tie breaks, and the same thing happened in the Oslo Esports Cup. So
that's in Blitz games?
That's in Blitz
I'm
games.
not sure if Blitz games are counted here.
You'll have to enlighten us, Kaja.
So 8 draws.
Okay.
3 wins each.
Okay.
So it's dead equal before the final starts.
Wow. Level scores.
Yeah.
7-7, right? 14 games.
Yeah, so
I'll pretend I knew that.
Yeah, that's
Lucky
very
guess.
good.
But yeah, that just shows both these players very balanced. Similar, we mentioned in some aspects of their game. Okay, finally, both sides have castled. We are out of the opening. And it is very, very tense. Both sides have problem pieces. Black's light squared bishop completely locked in. I think Shaq wants to prioritize getting that piece out. And for white, it's the knight on the queen side still asleep. Needs to bring that to a central square at some point soon. But yeah, just a very odd pawn structure. You nearly never see this one. White's D pawn as well, sitting in front of the white queen. That pawn normally moves on move 1 or move 2, maybe even move 3. But it's move 11 now and still not advanced. So it does look a bit odd. But yeah, white has control over the center for now. It's just about whether Mamedyarov can bring his pieces out.
Could it move to the D4 square, or would that be a bad move for him?
No, I think you're right, Kaja. That might be part of the plan at some point in the near future. If we just jump in, just to highlight the plans for Duda, if he wants to play a bit slower, then he'll go for development, maybe move the queen. This looks like a decent square for her. She's kind of pinning along this diagonal some targets there. White's knight could also come out. It depends, for example, if the white knight comes out, do you want to capture in the center with a pawn for white? This pawn is potentially strong, potentially weak, it's not clear. So that's one question. If you want to be more direct, then your move, Kaja. You can play with a pawn forward in the center. The only downside, it's good that you open it up because I think you have great central control, but the only downside is that now the pawn structure is almost symmetrical. So symmetrical means both sides have pawns on the A, B, E, F, G, H files. So no passed pawn potential. So if all the pieces disappear, then the pawns kind of balance each other out. So in the current position, that's not the case. There is an imbalance. This pawn is advanced, but it could be weak. This pawn is nice and safe, very flexible. So I think we might see this at some point pushing forward, but maybe not yet.
Okay.
I'm more expecting Duda to play with pieces. When I prepare for opponents, I always think there's 2 different types of player. Players who attack with pawns, players who attack with pieces. And both of these like to play with pieces. Pawn structure is maybe secondary to them. For me, pawn structure is like the #1 issue in chess. I'm always looking, I have a nice chain here. Or my opponent's pawn here could potentially be weak. Maybe I can push forward and kind of cut off the protection of this pawn. But these 2, they look for piece activity. Maybe more than anyone else in world chess right now, these 2. So yeah, I'm expecting Duda to move the white queen or maybe this white knight. So one of these 2, which are not doing anything at the moment.
But then you, with your style, would you move that pawn, or would you also not move it because you want that passed pawn?
Yeah, I think I would move a pawn. I might move this pawn in the corner. So the reason I would move this is because now my opponent's B pawn is kind of locked down. If they push it forward, at some point I could capture en passant, as if it moved 1 square. And for example, even if there's a capture here, my opponent now, I would be thinking, I've got a better pawn structure. White has 1 isolated pawn over here, but black has 2 isolated pawns, so white's pawn structure is better long term. But this is because I have very kind of niche thinking. I'm like, looking for these tiny, small advantages. But these 2 players, I don't think they'll be worrying about that. They'll be thinking about how to activate. And also, this type of pawn push, it does tie down the white rook to defend this pawn quite long term.
Interesting, though, David. Yeah. Does that happen a lot, that you don't actually sort of suggest and show us the move that you would play?
Sometimes. Yeah, I mean, it depends who we're watching. If we're watching Magnus, then often the move I suggest might be on his radar too, just because I feel that he likes the long-term, grindy type of positions. But these 2, I'm trying to get in their minds, and I'm thinking, OK, Duda wants to attack. That's clearly his strategy with this opening. How would he do that? It would be bringing a queen forward or bringing a knight forward. It wouldn't be just a small kind of... Knowing my luck, he's going to play it now, but probably not his style.
No, I have to say it was.
He does play it. Okay.
I was channeling that as well, and I liked this idea because one of the reasons why I was also drawn to this particular pawn move is it also secures the position of the light squared bishop. And in my mind, I was trying to set up a very weird configuration.
Okay.
Okay, it basically involved the queen trying to make its way to the A1 square.
Okay, so for example, let's say black plays a few moves.
Yeah.
You move your knight out, I'll play another move, you move your rook somewhere.
Yeah.
You want to bring the white queen across.
I wanted this type of configuration. I mean, I wasn't quite sure where to put the knight. That was the only thing that wasn't
So again, for example, you want your knight out the way.
Yeah.
But you want your queen and bishop lined up on this diagonal.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting.
That's how I was also trying to approach the position. But I feel that the knight is too much of a problem piece there. And meanwhile, we have seen the knight move to the centre and white take a step back. Now, okay.
There's tension now between these two bishops. White's knight, it looks a bit convoluted, just dropping back to a square that gets in the way of your pawns. But, for example, if the bishops disappear, then again, later you're free to push this pawn. But I think actually Duda's long-term strategy is positional. He wants to target this weakness. This is why we push the pawn forward as well, because the only pawn that can ever protect this black c-pawn is its body here on b6, but then it will always get traded off by white's pawn now. So actually this pawn is not quite isolated, but it's essentially isolated. And where white's knight stands at the moment, it's always going to target this guy. So it's not just locking down the position, but it's also got clear targets in mind. This black pawn's kind of cut off from the rest of its buddies right now. Interesting. I mean, Duda, he's going against his usual style, which is fascinating for me, at least. Is it tailored specifically to this 1-versus-1 head-to-head match? Duda has actually had a very good score this tournament against the young Indian players, and as Magnus said, anti-young player chess, it's kind of like slow, strategic. And the same could be used for Mamedyarov. He might be the oldest player in the tournament, but he plays like a youngster, energetic. So it feels like Duda is trying to slow down the pace of the game.
Interesting.
Yeah. I like this decision, actually, and both sides having their pros and cons, you know, and the more I look at it, the more it's not that easy for black to actually take those decisions, you know, should he trade off bishops? Should he allow white to trade off bishops? And he does trade off the dark square bishop. And then the second question is, like, what is black going to do with the knight sitting on d7? Is it going to develop? Is the queen going to come out and try to cover those dark squares? Ooh, there's so many decisions to take here that could potentially influence whether it's a big advantage for white, small advantage, or just equal. So critical moment right now. And whilst Mamedyarov is pondering as to what to do, we have another joke.
Oh,
this time from Sagar Jain, who says, "Why are our artists so bad at chess?"
I don't know.
Because they like to
draw.
Ah, very good. But you're not bad at chess if you're able to draw a game. I would love it if I was able to do that.
Yeah, winning is the joy, though. That's the point of chess. But, OK, meanwhile, there has been a traded pawn. So we did see that en passant idea. So white's a pawn that was far advanced, it has been traded off. But now pawn structure, we talk about pawn islands. White has one big island from the d-file.
In the stream?
Yeah, I was actually about to say that, and I was like, can I get away with that one? The white d-pawn to the h-file, that's all one pawn island. They can all protect each other, potentially, but white has one isolated b-pawn. Black has 3 pawn islands because he has 2 isolated pawns, the a and c pawns. The rest protect each other. So you want as few as possible. It's not like Greece, where you want as many islands as possible. Go on a holiday, it's fine. You want as few as possible in chess. That means you have fewer weaknesses. And, OK, black's knight does have an outpost. I do like what Shaq's done in terms of his bishop. Black's bishop was his worst-placed piece, and now his bishop's maybe his best minor piece. Black's bishop on a nice long diagonal.
I really like what Shaq has done, you know, because he solved all his opening problems, and he's got a very good piece, as you mentioned, a knight on an outpost. That's what every knight wants to be. And then the queen is coming out to cover the dark squares around the king. The rooks will line up into the centre. Nice, straightforward plan. Now it's the time for Duda to find something active to do, and it must be to do with relocating the knight on the edge of the board. Put it towards the centre.
Yeah, white really doesn't have many good squares to go to with this knight, so I expect the same. You want this square, Jovanka?
Yep.
Yeah. So we talk about outposts. Black's knight can never, ever get kicked away by a pawn, and it's supported by its own pawn, so this is an outpost. And White's knight has the same. For example, if you jump forward, let's say there's a trade of knights, this knight also can't get kicked away by any pawns, and it's just as good as Black's knight next to it. So these two pieces kind of cancel each other out. But I love White's knight on this square, to be honest. Knights are best also in front of isolated pawns, and that's the case for this piece. Also the case for Black's pawn, but this piece is maybe nearer the king side. So later, if it does switch to an attack, White's knight is slightly closer in the race than Black's knight. Yeah, small margins here. The computer thinks it's dead level, and I think I would choose White slightly, but I'm not surprised. Both players have decent pieces right now.
Oh, I'm surprised, actually, both by the computer and you choosing White, because I was going to choose Black.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was thinking, I love Shaq's position. You know, he's got a great bishop.
But pawn islands, Jovanka.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is interesting. I mean, there's no right or wrong. We're both right in a way because it's level chances, and it's just a matter of taste. And that's why, from a human aspect, you need to know your style in order to know whether you want to play with kind of good pieces or good pawn structure. Normally, you can't choose both. Here it's kind of a bit of both for each side. They have great pieces, but the pawns aren't ideal. And yeah, let's go back to the players. You mentioned, Jovanka, that strategy. Around move 20, it would start to heat up. It is heating up now.
Oh.
By move 40, you think normally it's going to be clear who's going to have the advantage or who's going to be dominating?
Yes.
So the next 10, 15 moves?
Next moves are critical. And also, I've noticed that their positions are so sharp that the evaluation will often swing. So often you'll see, like, hey, White is winning, and then they will make one inaccuracy, and then, oh, Black is winning. And you go through this turbulent ride, and you're just holding onto the edge of the seats, and you're trying to figure out desperately what's going to happen next. And, I mean, Levon Aronian said it quite simply. When you play Shakhriar Mamedyarov, you have to bring your tactical A game with you. I mean, you have to be looking at every single checks, capture, threats. You have to be looking at the activity of his pieces, and you have to try to contain it, you know, kill the game. But this is not really in Duda's style to kind of play so methodically and logically. I mean, he's also an artist.
Yeah, but it's quite visible that he is changing his style a bit. Look at this last rook move. It's just stepping up one square. He's protecting his pawns on the second rank. White has a lot of them, and it's a very slow defensive move. Again, it's the type of move I love, just because it covers your ground. You're just getting ready in case there is some action, but it's not what we associate with Duda. And Shaq covering the dark squares. Black's dark squares around his king were previously vulnerable, so he's put a pawn to cover. For example, that White knight now cannot go towards the Black king due to this pawn push. Interesting stuff. It's very tense, very cagey. Just, again, strategy on every move. Evaluation bar heading in White's direction now, but it is hard to see why. Black's pieces, they are all perfectly ready for any direct confrontation. Yeah, again, it looks like the type of position you toss a coin, you're like, oh, I'll take White, that's fine. White has decent chances. Oh, toss a coin. Black's doing well too. And clock times, though, it's definitely in Black's favour. Mamedyarov playing much quicker than Duda. That could be relevant later. Not quite now, but where's Simon when we need him?
Look at that. Harry has advanced. I mean, you were talking about playing, like, logically stepping forward, overprotecting everything, and Duda's like, OK, I'm impatient now. This is too deep for me. Let's just go back to what I do best. And that is move my pawns forward, start probing Mamedyarov's kingside for weaknesses. I like this, obviously. I mean, is that any surprise? I mean, the next move is to lift up the pawn one square forward. But now we see Mamedyarov just not reacting to that move at all, and instead improving his bishop. And wow, the bar hates that move. I mean, why?
It looks like a good move to me. Black's bishop nicely centralised, controlling some key squares. Black's knight as well. It looks great. How can White be that much better? I still prefer White slightly, but +1 advantage? Equivalent to a pawn? That's surprising. What could the idea be here? Whoa, Duda's going all-out attack. No more subtlety anymore. All the pawns forward.
He's burning the bridges. With great space comes great responsibility, and now it's going to be all about those light squares in front of the white king and whether white will be able to generate that attack.
Really interesting stuff. This would never have crossed my mind, I've got to say, not in a million years. I mentioned they prefer to play with pieces, but at the moment the pieces are quite stuck. So this is Duda's attempt to break his pieces open. Give them some life, and I think the idea is actually quite a positional one, Jovanka.
To play the g-pawn forward and secure the e5 square for the knight.
So, for example, if black waits, like a semi-useful move, then, yeah, this pawn push hits this pawn, hits the f-pawn. Now, a decision needs to be made for black. This pawn is attacked twice. If you capture, then I don't think that this is great. White's rook can swing across and use the h-file later. But if you block it up, that's not great either. Like you said, the e5 square. We talked about outposts, and this is a perfect outpost for the white knight. It's going to sit in the centre of the board, beautifully controlling everything. Octo knight, as you used to call it, Jovanka.
Yep.
Its tentacles controlling both sides of the board. And, yeah, this is really interesting, because on the face of it, superficially at least, in this position, it looks like white's just opened up his king for no reason. He's not attacking the black king. You don't have enough pieces going towards that black king, but it's just a purely strategic idea. And that's rare when you push 3 pawns. The 3-pawn attack.
Wow.
Yeah, it's. Do we think we'll see Mamedyarov try to prevent this by going for the 4-pawn wall? I don't know, just a wall of 4 pawns, trying to stop the white pawns marching forward. It looks a bit shaky, though.
That looks very fragile. I mean, people will be asking us why we think it looks shaky, because after all, the pawns are all in a row.
I was gonna ask, because I think they look powerful. Mean girls in the high school hallway.
Yeah. It's like a shield wall of warriors. This pawn is fine for now, but I think it's actually this pawn that's the big weakness, because white's queen is eyeing it up from afar, black's queen is tied down defending it. Yeah, I guess it doesn't look that shaky if the black king kind of just comes forward, defends the other loose pawns. Yeah, it's on my radar, at least. I would be very tempted to stop the advance of white's pawn by pushing the black pawn. But Mamedyarov, remember, he wants to play for pieces. He always wants to have the safer king. So temporarily, white's king is a bit more open than black's king. There's more kind of empty squares around it. So Mamedyarov, he might be looking for ways to attack. For example, the black knight could swing across, attacking the white queen, but it's just a one mover. The white queen can slide to safety, so that doesn't really achieve much. The black knight could also jump into this square, attack the white rook, but it's just a one mover. The white rook can move away. You haven't gained anything. So there's lots of ways of creating one-move attacks, but Shak is trying to create a longer-term plan in the current position. It's Duda being really creative. I've got to admire it.
Yeah.
Breaking all the rules in different situations now. In the opening, moving the same piece many times, pushing pawns in front of your king. It's not what we teach to kind of beginners, maybe, but it shows once you've got good pieces, your position has resources like this one.
And this is a very unusual position. I mean, let's face it. When do we see something like this? So neither player will be able to draw on their bank of patterns that they use to help them and find their plans. And I agree, I think we're going to see a lot of fireworks on the board. And I do suspect that we will see this wall of pawns from Mamedyarov.
That would be cool.
That would be very, very cool.
Meanwhile, his time advantage has nearly disappeared. Mamedyarov, he was 4 or 5 minutes up on the clock. And spending 4 minutes on this one move, slides his queen across. Now, the queens sit on the same diagonal as each other, so I guess his idea is if that diagonal opens up, he's happy with the queen exchange.
Okay.
Interesting decision.
Yeah, but also is the idea to improve the queen, put her on h6 and tack some pawns?
Possibly. Maybe going towards the white king at some point, if she's allowed.
If she's allowed, of course.
Back to Duda. Very difficult decision here.
Will we see a winner in this game now, do you think?
It's imbalanced enough. Pawn structure is completely weird, and that normally means very good winning chances for both sides, and he does advance with his pawn.
Is that to stop the queen move?
Yeah, to stop the queen coming out, and also he's basically saying, Duda, with this move, he's happy for an endgame. Earlier we talked about, I was kind of half joking about the pawn islands, but that will become very relevant in an endgame. So no matter what black does now with his f-pawn, the queens, he marches forward, the queens are likely to get exchanged. And once that happens, we will be heading towards an endgame. Pawn structure is the key there.
And why does he march forwards with the pawn and not take the pawn?
Yeah, I think he just feels he wants to block things up. Also, this pawn defends the black bishop in the middle of the board. Normally, you don't want to take away from the center if your opponent can capture towards the center, if that makes sense. So black decided to block, and white's knight is on that outpost.
Yeah, things are heating up, and well, Duda is simply getting ready to push the h-pawn 1 square forward and initiate an attack on the right side of the board. So this means that Mamedyarov has to distract white from this plan and has to then, therefore, take measures in the center. Start threatening the weak pawn on d2, pile up the rooks in the middle.
Yeah, this is white's only weakness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the base of the pawn chain. This is a great connect 4 pawn chain, but it's always the base that's the weakest. So the problem is how to attack this one. It's not easy at all.
I mean, can you step forward with
a black
rook?
Yeah, say the rook moves. But for example, even if I just slide back with the white bishop, I'm always defending this pawn now twice with the rook. I'm not sure I even want to do that, to be honest. I'm very tempted, as you mentioned, to start advancing. What's better than connect 4? It's connect 5. And this white pawn chain is going to really clamp down on black structure. Actually, any endgame now is just winning for white because black's king is going to be so stuck in the corner. Yeah, I mean, this is one idea, Jovanka. I'm itching to get rid of this knight.
So
I'm tempted to drop back with the black knight to try and exchange it off. But the problem is I lose this pawn, right?
Yeah.
I lose a pawn at the moment, so maybe that's not possible. But how else can you get any activity as black? Again, you can create one-move threats. You can drop the knight back to attack the queen, but the queen moves. And what are you doing? This knight looks nice, but it gets in the way of black's rooks. The more I look at it, the more I think white's in complete control.
I agree. I agree, actually, with your radical solution of just trading knights.
Yeah, maybe this is the best in the current position to just, even at the cost of a pawn, to try and get rid of this piece. And Mamedyarov agrees as well. Process of elimination, nothing looked good for black. So get rid of your opponent's best piece, even if you're sacrificing. And if, for example, white gobbles up a pawn right now with the white rook, then at least, OK, in a position like this, white's knight is gone. You can breathe a sigh of relief temporarily. And at least you're still very solid as black.
Yeah, exactly. And at least you have some freedom in the position. You know, the rooks now have open lines to attack down, you know, the B line, the A line.
Black's queen can swing across as well.
Exactly. And you do have to remember that white's king is still very shaky. So I definitely like this move. I mean, is there any way that Duda can kind of keep control instead of grabbing the material?
Good question, Jovanka. If we go back to the current game position, it's this one, how to keep control. The problem is if we move our knight or if we capture black's knight, then the queen exchange is going to happen. And I'm not sure this favours white so much. Yeah, suddenly black's bishop is just as good as the white bishop. Suddenly black's rook is on an open file. Again, there's a question of whether white can be greedy and grab a pawn, but it's just a pawn. The rest of black's position looks good suddenly. You've got an idea?
Yeah, I do have one idea, which is to capture... Sorry, not capture, just to move the bishop to the c4 square and attack the pawn.
Yeah, that's a big weakness. Not defended. Makes a lot of sense. I guess black would defend or maybe block with his own bishop. And yeah, I mean, it still looks good for white, to be honest. White can grab this free pawn whenever he wants, but still not easy to make any killer breakthrough. It feels like Shak is just trying to defend right now. And Duda, burning time, it's got to be said. He's looking for that killer blow. I think I would just grab a pawn and just move first, think later. Greed can't be that bad in this position.
Yeah, I did actually now just check the computer evaluation, and it says basically you can do all the 3 things that we mentioned.
OK.
And it's all good for white. And capturing the pawn is good.
Yeah. I think when in doubt, when you've kind of looked for the very direct attempts, sometimes you just have to go back to simple chess. I'm a big fan of simple chess. Just, OK, take a pawn. You can get this knight now. Take this knight off the board. You've made small gains in that process.
And we see Duda pause. I mean, is he considering capturing that knight with the queen?
Possibly.
Possibly take the game to an endgame and lower the risk. But
yeah, the white queen is defending you. Earlier you mentioned that d pawn. White's d2 pawn is vulnerable. So I'm expecting the pawn to take back. But maybe Duda's getting nervous. He does take with the queen.
Yeah, I think Could there be a tactic on the board? No. So after... Okay, the queens have come off the board, and now we're considering whether rook can just capture the pawn that's available on d2.
Yeah, black's rook can get active now. I think I'd be very tempted to go for that. Duda nodding his head.
Yep.
Mamedyarov agrees. He captures the pawn. Black's rook on the 2nd rank. That's normally good. White's rook on the 6th rank can go across and capture a pawn as well. So white can go a pawn up again, but still black is getting active. White's pawn structure not ideal anymore. Those doubled white e-pawns, vulnerable. Feels like Mamedyarov's doing a good job of defending, but computer says, evaluation bar says, still good for white, still good for Duda.
Yeah.
1 minute though. Can he find a good continuation now?
Mamedyarov seems calm and in control, but he has started bopping his head a little bit.
Because the clock is ticking down. 1 minute. The position is very tense. I mean, this could quickly go wrong for Shak. He has to play very active moves. And Duda now is in full calculation mode. I think he's calculating whether to capture the pawn, whether he should spring forward with the bishop, threaten the pawn. There's so many things to get excited about. And he does move the bishop and now attacks the pawn and at the same time offers a trade of rooks.
Yep. So big threat on the board. Mamedyarov needs to react. I think he might have to trade off a set of rooks at some point, Mamedyarov.
I think he has to give a check first, and the rook comes down. And now is the time, I think, to offer, just to capture that rook.
Yep.
Trade him off.
Mamedyarov says no, though. He steps his rook back, and this is a really sneaky idea. He's got an idea in mind that he's actually giving up a rook, but he's going for the draw. He's going for what we call perpetual check. So in this position, he's just allowed white to capture this pawn. This is a double attack, a check, winning the black rook next move. But if you take the black rook, suddenly black's rook gives a check. The king has to go into the corner. The black rook moves out the way. For example, here, with a discovered check, the white king has to move, and we'll see that kind of windmill operation, as they call it, just continue forever. The position would repeat itself. So the white king can't escape. Duda has indeed captured this pawn, so he's got the double attack. The king moves. OK, it went into the corner. But now, if Duda wants to win, he can't allow this check. Or he can allow it, but he has to give his king some breathing space.
But he's put his king in a mating net. It's vulnerable there. And now I'm thinking, OK, move the white rook on f1. Move it out of the way, perhaps align it with its other rook, and then threaten to do something.
Yeah, you're still attacking this piece. He does play that, Jovanka, you're right. I'm very surprised he went into the corner, Shak. Like you said, it's just really bad in the corner, the king. No way out of there, and he has to deal with a threat against the rook. I'm assuming the rook will move. And yeah, let's just show your idea. For example, if the rook steps up 1 square, white can actually deliver checkmate really nicely. Check. The bishop can go and take this rook, but after white's rook replaces its fellow, trapped in the corner now, the king. It can move, and final blow. Checkmate. Really nice, pretty mating pattern. So actually, Mamedyarov doesn't have too much choice. Yeah, he's got to move this rook. He's got to move it somewhere safe along the 8th rank. You could maybe flick in a check first, but I don't think that changes anything. Now the key difference is that white's king doesn't go into the corner, it runs towards the center, where it's much safer. No more kind of sensible checks, at least. So yeah, it's Duda in control at the moment. Shak, why did he go into the corner with the black king? The black king is just so bad here. Going to be tricks against that piece.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to defend his pawn. I mean, he was afraid. Such decisions happen when you're not cold and logical and you just play using your emotions. And definitely, Duda now has the upper hand.
Yeah, he has the upper hand. I'm expecting him, Mamedyarov, just to move his rook to this square or maybe this square. And the fight goes on, but white is a pawn up and with active pieces.
How important is it now for Mamedyarov to at least keep his advantage on the clock, to make a move fast now?
It's quite important, I feel. Already a few turns ago, it felt like he was hustling. He was playing some quick moves. They weren't necessarily the best moves or most accurate, but he was setting traps, playing instantly. And that nearly worked for him, but Duda's found a really clever way to continue the game, to avoid that draw, that drawing mechanism that we showed. And yeah, that time advantage, you're right, Kaja, is disappearing. Yeah. I think if it comes down to a pure scramble, Jovanka hit the nail on the head earlier. they've played 2 blitz matches in recent times. These two, Duda's won them both. So in terms of pure speed, Duda's younger, he's quicker. And Mamedyarov, I think if he does drift below 30 seconds in this game, he's going to find it difficult.
Yeah. Under a minute on the clock. He needs to move. The bar is loving it for Jan-Krzysztof Duda. This is game 2. The first one was a draw. And if Duda wins this, he will take the lead. And with 1 more point, he will win the first match.
The king does run towards the center for Duda. And the computer does not like what Shak's doing. But Shak is going for the white king. So he's actually lined up the black rook with that white king. There is a pawn in the way. Black's f-pawn will try to push forward, blow open a line towards its enemy king. But white has a move before that happens.
Yeah, and he retreats his bishop, so he's basically saying to Shak, if you push forward with the pawn, I am just going to go and put my rook on f6 square and just start looking at your rook. And the position is critical. And take a look at the bar. I mean, it absolutely confirms it. Duda now has a winning advantage.
Yeah, you're right, Kaja. You're right, Jovanka, sorry. Yeah, the black pawn. This was Shak's idea, to push forward, to blow open this line, but it's just 1 move too slow. If it was black's move, he would actually be breaking through and checkmating white. 1 move too slow, however, and your idea. The rook coming across, challenging the black rook, and actually, you cannot even take this rook because now a white pawn replaces it. I'm not even sure which pawn, but one of these two will march forward and make a new queen now. And we don't see that from Mamedyarov. Instead, we see the rook move. We saw black's rook try to slide down with a check. But look at this. It's a passed pawn 2 squares away. This king in the corner is just as weak as white's king, actually. White's king at least can run. White's king can run towards the center if it gets checked. But I think black's king is worse. Out of the 2, he's going for checkmate Shak, but is he going to get mated himself?
Yeah. The white pawn is simply going to step forward, attack the rook.
Yeah. The rook.
And there it comes. The rook will move, and now it's big trouble for Shak. But can Duda finish him off?
Yeah, that's the big question. For example, can Duda slide his rook across? Maybe that's one idea, to try and go for the black king in the corner. You have to calculate this well. It's a scramble, 20 seconds left each player. Maybe that's not the best move even. Maybe there's others.
So he doesn't need to protect this pawn?
He is actually giving it away. So if that pawn was captured, there would have been a really nice checkmating idea on the 8th rank. White's rook would have gone up to the top of the board and trapped the black king in the corner. So black's king has to come out first.
Okay.
So temporarily, Duda is 2 pawns up. I really like what he did, actually, keeping things simple on his last move, getting rid of one of black's pawns and 2-pawn advantage. Like you said, Kaja, if he can keep that white pawn on the e7 square, which he's just done, protecting it, he should win the game. That white pawn on e7 is too strong. It paralyzes a whole rook on its own. And white's got a threat. White's bishop is going to slide 1 square across on the diagonal to go and attack black's rook at the top of the board. If it can kick away the blockader, it's game over.
It is game over, and I feel the only chance that Shak has is basically to give a rook a check. And we see him capture a pawn, and the king swiftly steps up. It's your threat. It's going to happen, David. The bishop is going to go and attack the rook, and Duda will be winning.
Yeah, wow, the evaluation bar's shot right up. Completely winning now for white.
Wow.
White's king is out of danger. Kings in endgames, if they're in the corner, they can get trapped. If they're in the center, nearly never, because they can run anywhere. And look at this, the king active, Shak shaking his head. Black's rook and bishop, they're tied up in knots. The black rook has to move. It has to keep defending its bishop, but yeah, the other rook is going to drop.
And Shak looks away. He knows his position is lost, and it's over.
He lets his clock run out, Shak, and he loses game 2.
Wow, Duda takes the lead. 40 moves with the white pieces, winning game 2 to take the lead. Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, he will now have to make a comeback. He has 2 games to go in today's match. How impressive was that win, Jovanka?
Very impressive. I mean, Duda played unorthodox chess. It was a bit weird, but he managed to confuse Mamedyarov. And in the end, just when he got sharp, he just played perfectly.
Wow. What a game. And here is today's FTX exchange.
And it was an exchange of pieces, a really good practical decision that gave Duda the victory in game 2 of the first day of the final. And it was in this position, Duda with white. He's just won a pawn. He's just brought his rook up to capture a pawn on the a6 square. And after black continued with his plan, exchanging knights, here Duda made a very instructive decision. He could have taken this knight with a pawn. It looks like white's just a pawn up. However, white's king is very vulnerable, and later the black queen could maybe sneak in behind to create some trouble. For example, the queen can slide across at some moment, and long term, white is never going to feel safe. Normally, when your king is more open than your opponent's, you should be trading queens, and that's what Duda did now. He took all of the risk out of the position by capturing the knight with the white queen. It looked like he was losing some control after the queens disappeared because the black rook came in, but after this move, very powerful bishop move, he showed Shakhriyar Mamedyarov that his rook is under attack, this pawn is under attack, and actually black's position was the one to fall apart. In an endgame, white's pieces were more active, and he went on to win.
Wow. In a little less than 14 minutes, game 3, Mamedyarov will have the white pieces, his final game with the white pieces today. And he has to either win that one or game 4. If Duda wins game 3, then he will be the winner of the first match. Ooh, it's getting intense, you guys. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go 50 years back in time to when Bobby Fischer became world chess champion. We'll be right back.
I'm ahead of the game. Well, the phone is always ringing. I'm caught up on the line. Got a string around my finger. Remember who am I? I'm a boss and I'm honestly off my rocker. But follow me. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. I'm only ever slinging. I'm working overtime. Got a song and I'm the singer. The melody, the vibe. I'm a prodigy. Logically, I'm impossibly wanted, and I remember my name. I remember my name. Ooh, well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. Well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game.
I love sports, so that's how I train. I do football, I've started playing paddle recently. I also do some exercises with a personal trainer, but he always tries to make it about competition because that is what motivates me. I do not know if it's essential to be in good shape to be a good player, but I know that I play a lot better when I do feel well and that I'm at my best physically, for sure.
When I saw her for the first time, it was love at first sight. I love how rich and complex she is, how sharp and principled her first steps, how graceful her movement. Paris is a city of love. I've come to find my love for the French defense.
Air quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with AirThings.
Hello everyone, I'm Grandmaster Pragyananda. Do you want to use my games to improve your chess? Now you can do. We have handpicked 50 puzzles from my games played in Champions Chess Tour this season.
I went bishop c5, d4 and queen e4. Yeah, another crucial win for the qualifications to topic.
You can download it for free. just by going to chess24.com/puzzlepack. Enjoy solving.
Welcome back to Aimchess Rapid in a few minutes. Game 3 will start between Jan-Krzysztof, Duda and Shakhtiyar Mammadjarov. But before that happens, we're going to go down memory lane. Back 50 years in time to 1972, when the American Bobby Fischer was set to challenge the Soviet player Boris Spassky for the World Chess Championship title in Iceland. But just days before the match was set to start, Bobby Fischer hadn't even arrived in Iceland.
In 1972, a World Championship match took place between Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky. It's now regarded as one of the most famous matches in chess history. Now here we are in Iceland again, retracing their footsteps, and today we're going to meet the main organizer of that famous 1972 match. He invited us to meet him at the Bobby Fischer Center in Selfoss.
My name is Guðmundur.
It was a big challenge for Guðmundur Thorarinsson, setting up the match of the century.
And our only wish is to enrich the chess world.
It all started when a journalist called him asking about his new job as the president of the Icelandic Chess Federation.
I said, I have nothing to do with the Chess Federation. And he said, well, last Sunday there was a general meeting and you were elected the president of the Chess Federation. No, I was not there, I said, and I don't know anything about this or the Chess Federation.
No one wanted the job, so his little brother had nominated him.
I became very angry and said, how could you do this? He said, is that you just live with it for 2 or 3 years and then you go away. There is nothing to do in the Chess Federation. Nothing happens.
Little did he know what was coming.
And then there came a letter.
Iceland was invited to participate in a bid for the World Championship match. This was of big interest to the board of the Icelandic Chess Federation, but not to Thorarinsson.
This is a nonsense, that we have no money to take part in a bid like this. I don't like this. There is no sense in participating in this. They kept pressing me, and I said, you're just creating a work for me to prepare a bid for this. I don't do this. But they kept pressing, so I thought maybe I'll send some kind of a bid to, get out of this dispute.
Iceland had the 3rd largest bid.
I said, there you see, I was right. This was just, you were just creating a work for me for preparing all this, and there was never a chance that we could win this match.
But the world champion, Boris Spassky, wanted to play in Iceland.
Iceland, I said, is that possible? Yes, Spassky says he wants to play in Iceland. And I, who never wanted to be the president of the Chess Federation and never wanted to participate in the match, stood there with the whole problem.
One of the problems, a major one, was getting Bobby Fischer to come to Iceland. Thorarinsson argued with Fischer's lawyers.
And they said, we can't get him to come to Iceland to play unless you raise the prize money. And I said, well, there is no possibility that we do that. I didn't even have the money to pay the prize money that we had made a bid for.
On the day the World Championship was to be opened, Thorarinsson was still arguing with Fischer's lawyers.
It's over because of how you handle this foolishly. You tell them that there will be no match.
Thorarinsson was late for the official opening of the championship. When he finally entered the building, he was met by 2 representatives from the foreign ministry.
And they said, what kind of a man are you? Iceland is very unlucky to have a man like you. You have the president and the government and the ambassadors and the world chess champion waiting here for 20 minutes for you.
Thorarinsson could not reveal what was going on with Fischer.
And I said, you have to give me 5 minutes. I have to talk to the board of the Chess Federation. And they said, no way. And they came to and they took under my arms and took me to the stage and said, get up there, you foolish man, and open the match.
He was about to close the match when it suddenly struck him.
A meter from the podium, I decided to open it, like nothing had happened. And then it came to my mind that I can always close it. So I opened it with a lousy speed.
Game 1 started.
Well, Spassky is waiting.
And Fischer did not show up.
I just wondered if you've ever seen Mr. Fischer, if you have any proof that he actually exists.
Spassky was very worried. He said to me, Guðmundur, this cannot go on any longer. And I think he had been waiting here for maybe a week or 10 days or something like that. And then he said, and was very determined, you have to solve this on a higher level. Higher level? I said, yes. It's the only way to solve this is to solve it on a higher level. I didn't have the imagination to think of a higher level, but I said, well, if that is the possibility, I'll do that.
It was indeed taken to a higher level. Foreign Minister Henry Kissinger motivated Fischer.
He said, the Americans want you to go to Iceland and beat the Soviet Union. It's of vital importance. And they said, Bobby Fischer changed at this moment. His face became like that of a soldier going to a war. And he said, I'll do that.
What a story. And this was only the start before the match even started. We are going to talk more about this match because in a few days, Fischer Random World Championship match will start in Iceland, where Bobby Fischer later became world champion. So more on that later, but this is the Aimchess Rapid, and we're now going to give you an Aimchess analysis. David will deep dive into the online stats of one of our viewers. And who is it that we're going to take a look at today? Is Lucas saying constantly tilting Lichess username because I can't cross 2,000 and I feel like I lost the ability to play chess. Oh, David, he needs your help.
Yeah, and Lucas, I'm here for you. Let's check out some of your stats. And let's jump into Aimchess, a really useful tool for analysing your games. Here, I've analysed your most recent 40 Blitz games, but if you do sign up to Aimchess, you can look at all of your games as a whole. I saw, Lucas, you've played over 1,000 games on Lichess. But first of all, the graph. Openings, fantastic, 100% accuracy rate. That means you know your openings, you never blunder in the opening, and we don't even need to talk about that. One of your strongest points. Tactics, as we see with a little question mark here, Aimchess thinks tactics are potentially the weakness, so do some puzzles. You can actually try your personalized lessons within tactics. Puzzles every day, that will boost your rating. You're great in the endgame, much stronger than your peers, much higher percentage win rate there. Advantage capitalization, you finish off your opponents, great killer instinct. Resourcefulness as well, turning things around. You're great in all these departments. It feels like you're underrated. You should be able to cross that 2,000 level. Time management maybe could need some work as well, but tactics, time management, those are the two that stand out. And we see the win rate. Wow, what numbers. 75% win rate with white, 65 with black, overall 69% win rate. Nice. This is just great numbers overall. Maybe it shows you're playing against lower rated opposition. If you're scoring this high and you're stuck at a certain rating, maybe challenge yourself, play higher rated players, and you'll steal more of their rating points. Here there's a more detailed opening breakdown. It does say Italian game is the area to work on. And we do see more opening stats. I recommend going to Aimchess, checking these out more yourself. And I just want to show you a couple of really interesting things for me. Firstly, the endgame, we mentioned it's your strongest point. Maybe another way to improve. Push games towards the endgame. If you're not great at tactics, trade off pieces, trade off the queens. You have great understanding. And of course, time management important, but win rate. Play at weekends. This is definitely the key, Lucas, to improving. You're great as the week draws on. Maybe busy on Mondays and Tuesdays, maybe a hectic job there, but play at the weekends. You'll steal even more of your opponent's rating points and you'll break that 2,000 mark for sure. I guarantee it.
So that is the tips for Grandmaster David Howell for Lucas to cross 2,000 on the ratings. We wish you best of luck and do those puzzles on Aimchess. This is Game 3. Shakhriyar Mamadjarov, he cannot lose this game and he has to win either this one or the next one to tie the match against Jan-Krzysztof Duda. This is his last game with the white pieces. So what are we seeing?
Yep, it's early days. It's a branch of the Queen's Gambit declined, slash Nimzo Indian. It's a kind of a mix of both openings. There's a lot of crossover there. So it is early days. This is still opening theory as far as I know, and an exchange of pawns now. So black is likely to be left with an isolated pawn in the middle of the board. Jovanka, has this been seen before?
Many, many times. Ding Liren has played this with the white pieces. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and Shakhriar Mamedyarov played this in December 27, 2021 against Harsha Baratoki. So I'm guessing that would be the World Blitz, or is it the Rapid Championship?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
And this opening, it's known to be a bit risky for white because if you look at white's pieces, white's king is stuck in the centre, white's all of his kingside pieces on that right side of the board, they're still asleep at home. So it's taking big risks for Mamedyarov, but he is in that situation. It's his last white of the day. He wants to win this one. A loss, he's out of today's match. A draw, not a great result. So that's why he's gone for this strategy. It's much more ambitious than the last game that Shakhriar had white, game 1 of the day, because white now has a superior pawn structure. White is temporarily a pawn up. But yeah, it's those pieces. And Duda looked a bit confused there, looked off to the side. But maybe it's because Mamedyarov has paused right now in a really critical moment. And maybe just Duda surprised because it was Mamedyarov who chose to pull the game into this, into these waters. And the main move here, Jovanka,
is to develop the knight. And well, I have to say, I have one game here on the database between Fabiano Caruana and Dominguez Perez, and that actually ended with a loss for Caruana with the white pieces. And the position actually got super wild. So let me just give you a sample line, because we could see something like this happen. So white developed the knight, very natural, very good. And black initiated chaos by pushing forward with the d-pawn 1 square. And then we saw real, just absolute mayhem on the board because white then castled to the left.
Yeah, pinning the pawn against the queen in the centre makes a lot of sense, but very, very open, the white king on this side of the board, especially because the centre's about to explode. And maybe 1 or 2 more moves there.
Yep, OK. And black actually stepped forward, stepped back with the bishop to capture the pawn. And then after pawn takes pawn, the bishop retreated once more to challenge its counterpart. And after the trade of bishops, I think black is standing actually very well.
Yeah. Black has easy piece play, and despite the fact white is a pawn up, this king is a big target. Later, you could certainly imagine it needs to be protected, but the bishop might eventually land on this square. Black's knight is ready to pounce towards the white queen. The white king is far weaker than its counterpart, and we're heading in that direction. So let's backtrack to the game position. This is maybe where we think the game might end up, but at the moment, Shak has brought his knight out. Better late than never, as they say. And the key here, Duda, it's a tricky situation for him because quite possibly, quite likely even, he's studied this pawn push. He's looked at that kind of chaotic position, but that does risk for black as well. Black would sacrifice a pawn in that variation we just showed, and he could play it safer. He could, for example, go back and take this pawn if he wants to live a slightly less risky life. I guess he can maybe play other moves, such as bringing this bishop out, developing lots and lots of choice for him. Does he go for the critical ideas where he takes risks? Or does he play it a bit safer because he is in the lead today? That's the dilemma for Duda, and he's thinking about it right now.
Yeah, he is thinking about it. What do you think, David? Do you think he will press that button on chaos, or will he just develop the queen and do as he... take the calmer approach?
Yeah, I think he should go for the chaos. I don't think you want to necessarily play it safe because then you do take negative decisions. We've seen that before. If you play for a draw, you get punished. So I'm expecting, yeah, something active. Maybe the black queen coming out, maybe the black pawn pushing, something aggressive. You've got to fight fire with fire sometimes. And it's worked for Duda already today once in the last game. And also, Mamedyarov did pause for 2 minutes before his last move, so it shows that Mamedyarov is freestyling slightly. Maybe Mamedyarov isn't fully aware of all the consequences of this pawn move. So, critical moment. OK, he plays the safer option. He just goes back and regains his pawn. Level material now, but white has time. White, for example, now can move his bishop and castle this way. So much safer for Mamedyarov.
You did mention, Jovanka, that Fabiano Caruana has played this with the white pieces and lost it with the white pieces. But yesterday, he became the US chess champion, playing a draw in the final game. And I think he had half a point down to Ray Robson eventually. Was that a very impressive tournament by Fabiano? We know there's a lot of strong Americans. Whoa! What is happening here?
Mamejarov's taking risks, and big ones. So we said white could castle queenside, but only if black opened up the centre and pushed some pawns. The reason white could castle queenside in that variation is because white was winning a pawn in that line we showed earlier. Now it's level material, but you've basically put a target on this king's back. You've basically said, here's my king, it's out in the open, come for me, bro. And I think Duda's going to come for that white king. Mamejarov, he's provoking his opponent. He wants to win, and also with kings on opposite sides, it's easier for both sides to attack, both players. But computer says no. Computer says it's really bad for white.
Wow. Oh, but what a game we have ahead of us now. Kings on opposite sides.
Yeah, I mean, the price of an error suddenly goes up, and the position is just mad. I mean, it's open. The rooks are going to come in to attack the queens and kings. Pawns are going to spring forward. Ow. This is the kind of chess we love to see and we love to commentate on.
And now, how important is it for Duda to join in on the craziness here and not become too passive?
It's essential in this position. You can't kind of pull the brakes. You can't stop pedaling on that bike. You need to keep the momentum. And I was going to say, don't play this move. This one should be fine. It is a bit passive, though. And the reason I don't like this move, it's just a defensive move, defending this pawn. Also, Mamejarov's idea, I've seen him do this countless times in blitz games, even longer games. He even did this against the Play Magnus app. He puts his knight on this square and he tries to checkmate you. He tries to go for the square using his queen, his knight. At the moment, that's defended by black's knight, but it's a bit scary. For example, if Mamejarov now can ever remove this defender, the black knight, then he's just going to jump in with his queen and deliver checkmate. So don't give him this time. Also, the black bishop that's just parked itself on the square is a target for white's knight sometimes. So not a great square. I was going to say there must be more active ways in this position.
There was, and the computer just said, attack the queen with your knight. Timing is everything. So if the queen steps forward, then the bishop can simply come out and go to this optimal diagonal. And it was exactly what you said, Kaja. You could not take any passive decisions. And this position would be almost winning for black. Now, if we go to the current position, not so winning, and chaos again. Both sides have their chances.
Chaos, but chaos that Shaq will be very familiar with, or very used to at least. He's pausing now because maybe surprised by Duda's decision, but I'm expecting him either now or on the next move to bring his knight, to this square. And for example, if this knight is ever attacked, one thing that Shaq loves to do is leave his knight en prise, as we say, leave it attacked, and he will defend it with harry the h-pawn. Giving up a knight for a pawn is not normally good, but here in return you would open up the h-file towards the black king, and he doesn't need asking twice. Mamejarov, he does jump in with the white knight. I feel we're going to see a winner in this game. I'm not sure who, but it's the least drawish position you will ever see. All the pieces on the board. White is going to try attack on this side, as we mentioned, but black is going to try and attack on the opposite flank against the white king. Maybe starting with, for example, bring the black queen out at some point, bringing the black rook across to line up. Lots of targets here. Yeah, you nailed it. Jovanka, chaos is the order of the day.
Yeah, we have pandemonium on the board, and it's only move 11. So I'm expecting the situation to clarify around about move 25, which normally is when the game starts to heat up. But these two like to show their cards very early on. And, well, we have the most exciting position on the board. But we also have asked you at home to send us your chess jokes, because we do love to share the humour and enjoy the humour that you provide for us. And now the knight comes out to attack the queen. And I just have to show you this picture sent by Muraladi Haran, who says, I guess you didn't get the promotion.
That is so good.
This is just a classic. We love that one. It's one of the best chess jokes I've ever seen.
I agree. Fantastic.
Keep them coming. Remember to tweet us using the hashtag ChessChamps.
Please do. Ooh. Very good.
That poor pawn. Not every pawn promotes. That's the dream, though. And meanwhile, the white queen attacked.
Yeah. I think, yeah, Mamadjaro will win this game. It just looks like the kind of game that he wins.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen him win countless games like this before. And first, though, you have to weather the storm slightly as white before you get your turn to attack. At the moment, it's like, OK, stop the black defense, and then it's my turn. But Mamadjaro, he's got to find a safe square for his queen, first of all. Both sides kind of leading the attack with their pieces. I mentioned in the last game, they normally prefer to attack with pieces than pawns, these two. And Black's knight is leading the attack, attacking the white queen. White's knight is leading the attack on the other flank. Where would you run away to with this queen, Jovanka?
Oh, it's not an easy decision, David.
Yeah, it's really tough.
It is very, very tough because, you know, if you move her to the left, I mean, what is she doing there on the left? She's a target. So you kind of feel like you should just put her in the centre of the board.
Wow, we do see Stockfish as well. Top 3 computer suggestions. Don't move the white queen.
Oh.
Is the advice. That's not obvious. White's knight taking the black bishop is actually the best move by a distance. Any queen move here for white would give black a decisive advantage. That's not obvious at all. And Mamadjaro will not want to play that move if he wants to win this game.
Yeah.
Let's jump in. Let's show it on the board because this is an attack against the white queen. And instinct, if your opponent attacks you, you react. For example, the second best move here is a logical one. You move your queen. Although you are on the line of a bishop, so it's a bit scary. The third best move, is to drop the queen back. This is a bit unnatural. The queen is not great here, but she's still on a decent diagonal at least. But the best move by a distance, as we mentioned, is to counterattack. And this is why we always look for counterattacks in chess. You can run away, you can react, you can block, or you can counterattack. And this is the best idea, hitting the black queen. So black doesn't have time to take the white queen. We take the black queen now, and we would have won the piece in the process. So the idea here is you take this bishop, black recaptures, he does find the best move.
Wow.
The problem for white now is that no matter where he puts his queen, I think we'll find out in a moment, this square, suddenly there's no attack against the black king anymore because white's knight has traded itself off. So Mamadjaro would have done this with a heavy heart. And on the plus side, you have the 2 bishops, and the white queen is no longer harassed. She's on a safe square for now. But no more attack against black's king, and it could be one-sided traffic if black starts to build up against its enemy here. Yeah, still a good position for Duda, it looks like.
It definitely looks very promising for Duda, but not winning, right? And once the happy moves have been played, maybe it's not so easy to continue the attack as well. But I have to say, this is quite murky now.
Yeah.
Very strange position. These two are really keeping us on our toes.
Yeah, and I have a feeling as well, both players, they do look a bit nervous. Like Shaq is kind of freestyling a lot, and Duda, the whole game, he's been frowning or hiding his head. That's not as positive body language. The first couple of games, he was just, he was Dr. Evil. But now he's just, he doesn't look fully optimistic even. And, OK, the black rook did line up with the white king. White's king shifted. Yeah, anytime you cast a queenside, always run to the corner or always take another step to this square. It's much safer.
And I guess Duda will be calculating the most aggressive moves in the position or how to continue generating the attack. But, wow.
Yeah, we couldn't have asked for much more from this game, at least.
I know. This is exactly what we want. It's one of my favourite things in the world, opposite sides castling. And I have to say, I did not expect this safety-first move. I thought that the queen would maybe improve herself. Maybe the knight would spring forward. But Duda taking Mamadjaro's initiative very seriously.
Yeah, that black king's safe in the corner, but you have given your opponent a valuable move. It's really strange what's happening. I've got to say as well, earlier, Shaq took a very quick draw with white. He was punished by the chess gods. He lost the next game with black. It always works that way. Now, Duda hasn't taken the most aggressive aggressive decisions. He played a passive move earlier with his bishop. He played a passive waiting move with his king. Will Duda get punished now? That's normally how the trends go in chess. I don't know why. I don't know. It's just how human nature works, I guess.
Yeah.
If you don't attack, if you don't play the most principled move, you get punished.
I think that works if you have a conscience. If you don't have a conscience and you don't care what other people think, I think the gods just smile on you anyhow. And the queen does step forward, and the two rooks are now connected.
And the bar is now over to Mamadjarov's side.
Yeah. Okay, so this means that there is action to be had. I mean, is it just to step forward with the bishop? Is it to go forward with Harry, the H-pawn? Well, once again, Simon Williams, our friend, he calls it.
He's here in spirit, Simon. Not sure where this pawn is going. It's going the whole way forward, I guess. It needs 2 more moves, though, before it can approach one of the black pawns. It just wants to loosen up the black king position because black's king is super safe right now. So I said they prefer to attack with pieces, but if you can't do that, you have to push pawns first in order to create the weaknesses to jump into later. It's like in an army, if they've got a wall, you have to kind of create a hole in order for your forces to pour through. OK, back to Duda. Duda would love his light squared bishop back on the board because white's king is on a light square and you can't attack it. So that's why that piece exchange earlier, which we were hesitant about actually for Shaq, he had an attacking piece, but he did get rid of black's potential attacker as well. And white has the bishop pair. On light squares, white's king will always be safe. And how is Duda going to pour more
fuel into the fire?
Fuel in the fire, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It is not easy, and certainly not very clear. I mean, I'm so tempted just to push pawns forward and just initiate the race. But is this a good idea? Because this type of H4 move, it is the kind that puts ghosts into the air. And once again, Duda playing very calmly.
Very slowly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect this. I thought that we would perhaps see the black pawn in the middle push forward and kick the dark squared bishop.
But he's not really doing anything. He's not creating a threat, Duda. He's basically passing the move back to Mamadjarov, and that's risky.
That is very risky, because if I were Mamadjarov, I would say, well, I've pushed Harry 2 squares up the board. I'll continue.
Would you push Harry or Gary now, Jovanka?
You're giving me choices.
You could, whoops, I'll do that in blue. You can push this pawn forward and push it forward again to kick away the black defender, this knight. Or you can start pushing this pawn once more. And yeah, it is a difficult choice, because if you get one more move, say black pushes on the other side, not creating a threat, this pawn is a real bone in the throat, as we say, for the black king. You don't really want to take it and open up this white rook. You can't open up a line, so if you block things up, then suddenly the black king is on an open diagonal, and white's bishop will love to target it in the corner. To me, this maybe looks the more direct of the two, but oh, sorry, in this position, in the game situation, it's either Harry or Gary. The G-pawn also would make sense.
Yeah.
I really don't know what Duda's doing. This pawn push, it's just one square. It's not controlling anything. It's not threatening anything.
Too slow.
Makes a really bad impression. And sometimes you get a feeling about chess moves. It's like, oh, what's that doing? Or, oh, that's slow. And then it's natural to see the evaluation bar react, and it has gone in white's favour. So it shows there is something direct, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of these two moves was quite strong for white right now. Shaq is definitely looking this side of the board. The fact that he played this last move means he should be consistent. And they say that a bad plan is better than no plan at all. So just stick to your plan, no matter what it is. Don't change course. And OK, he doesn't change course. He pushes even further forward.
Yeah.
Do you really want to allow this if you're Duda? I think the answer is no.
Absolutely not. And I just peeked at the computer assessment, and the computer says this is good. This was a second choice, but it did argue that 2 pawns were better than 1. So your instinct there, David, was spot on.
He should have pushed the other one, but maybe now, because Duda has pushed a pawn forward himself to stop the advance of white's H-pawn. We said it was too strong if it stepped 1 square further forward. Now the question is, do you continue? Now this is what we call a hook. You can kind of grab that hook and break open the position if your white pawn gets to G5. But if you push it forward, maybe black will stop you. Maybe the black knight will move and stop the further advance of this pawn. OK, we don't find out. Mamadjarov changes the pace of the game by switching to this side of the board. He pushes a pawn, kicks back black's knight, but I think it wanted to go here. I think it wanted to retreat, and only now does he push his pawn forward. So there's a threat to open up lines, but black's knight now can start threatening the white queen. You've got to be a bit careful.
Yeah, it's really, really strange decisions, actually. You know, I didn't expect that pawn to attack the knight, and wow. But anyway, this is still a super wild position, and I agree with you, David. Knight has to go and attack the queen. You have to initiate something now, otherwise you're just going to get I was going to say slaughtered, which is really quite a brutal word.
Yeah.
Steamrolled, bulldozed.
Yeah, it's from my childhood days. You know, when we play chess, we often trash talked. So it would be like, yeah, you're getting slaughtered. You know? Never going to survive this. I am a Londoner at heart. And it just came out. I mean, I would be terrified if I were Duda and facing these pawns coming forward towards my king. I faced them in a particular variation in the Caracan, and I remember I literally spend like half an hour per move. Obviously, the players just don't have the luxury here.
That's true.
Yeah, like you said, you have to invest time normally because one slip and you get checkmated. If you're white, if you can push pawns, blow open the lines towards the black king, you win. And if you're black, if you can somehow get to the white king, you win. It's a race, and you need to kind of pursue your plans while stopping the opponent's ones, or at least calculate that you're quicker ahead in that race. It's not easy. 7.5 minutes each, essentially. There's going to be mistakes because this is a very difficult position for humans to handle. But Mamedyarov, he has a track record of being very good in these types of positions.
Yeah.
And it's opposite side castling where it's imbalanced. Duda's also very good, but yeah, it's difficult here. It feels like he's facing the first threat. Despite what the evaluation bar says, black is the one on the back foot for now. He needs to turn that around. It's the white pawns that are advancing. White's king still looks untroubled. Anything could happen here.
And also, he's, of course, happy with a draw in this game. Is it hard to sort of play a crazy game and go on the attack and play the crazy moves? You kind of only need a draw.
Yeah, when it's a crazy game, you just got to forget about what you need. You have to just look and focus all your effort into the position ahead of you. And Duda is doing the right thing. You know, he's striking back, he's playing aggressively, attacking the knight. And now Mamedyarov has an unpleasant choice. What is he going to do if he captures a pawn? Well, the knight will come in and jump forward and attack the queen, and black's pieces are just springing into the action, as David's highlighting. So this looks very, very unpleasant. So then again, Mamedyarov will be thinking, is it the best thing to retreat? Is the best thing to counterattack? So many choices.
Yeah, you can retreat the knight, you can counterattack with the knight. This is why, if we just backtrack a few moves, in this position, Duda, he kicked back this black knight. He could have pushed his pawns forward first, continued the attack like he did in the game, and then black's pawn push in the centre doesn't exist because it's simply captured. It's defended once, that's fine. But first, he kicked back the black knight to a better square. It actually went back. It needed to go back. It wanted to. And after he pushed forward, now black can play this move because the knight is on a better square. So it feels like Mamedyarov actually lost a move, helped the opponent slightly, and he's decided he couldn't capture in the centre, as you mentioned, Jovanka, so he has gone on the counter-attack, hitting this bishop. Oh, it's still so tense. Again, if white gets one more move, you're breaking through, you're almost winning, but black is in the move at the moment. And Duda, I really like what he did on the last turn, pushing a pawn in the centre. It's classical chess wisdom. If your opponent attacks on the flank, which Mamedyarov's doing right now, then you should counter in the centre. And, OK, Duda took a timeout. Another slow move, retreating his bishop. And Mamedyarov's going forward.
How cold-blooded is this? I mean, just to retreat the bishop and say, you know what? You got nothing happening over there on the right. I'm not afraid of my king being exposed to the elements, to the rooks. You're not in time. Bold move from the Polish ace.
Yeah, he's feeling very bold today. And this knight is attacked. There's two options. You either capture the pawn, and next move, white's going to push forward even further and blow open this file for the white rook against the black king. This looks really scary. But black does have the idea of trapping the white knight on the edge of the board. So he's calculating this. He's like, can I survive? I'm about to win white's knight. But it's a bit greedy. It looks suicidal to me to allow white's pawn forward. The second option would be, in this current position, to leave the tension and move the black knight into the centre, maybe trying to get rid of one of white's attacking pieces, but he goes for the first option. He does indeed capture the pawn, getting rid of the attacker, and after a recapture, he has trapped a piece. Duda's about to go a knight up, but it's on the other side of the board, and it's all about the black king. Can Mamedyarov find some compensation for the knight that's about to be lost?
Is he sacrificing now?
Yes.
Yeah, he knew this was coming. I think Shaq didn't even calculate this. He's playing on instinct. He's got that attacking instinct and he wants to go for the king.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, the only small problem for white is you would love to push this pawn forward, but black's going to block it up. Black's going to push, and now this pawn, you want it off the board, actually, because you want to open up your rook in the corner. Your pawn gets in the way of the white rook. It's like a double agent. It's actually helping black. So do you push forward now, or do you find a way to push forward later when black can no longer block it up?
Yeah, he
does push.
Yeah.
Duda surely is going to block. Yeah, he blocks it up.
Yeah, that was a no-brainer, and I wonder whether the problem is the white queen cannot step across.
Yeah.
I mean, you would love to magically transplant her over to the long diagonal, but every time she steps, she's going to get kicked back.
Yeah, if she moves across, she's going to get hit by the black knight, and the knight defends this pawn, so the white queen can't switch sides. Mamedyarov plays a bit of an odd move. This wasn't on my radar, I've got to say. He moves this rook across. What is the idea here? He's just about to lose this knight. The knight can get captured. Is he really just going to say, OK, you've won a knight, but I don't care, I'll just take back? And now he's attacking this black knight twice. Also, this knight is pinned. There's actually a lot of pressure on black's position. Computers will defend this easily. They'll grab the material, and that's why it says +1 for black, because black would be a knight up for just a pawn here. But it's not easy. There's a lot of pressure on this diagonal, on this file. Black's 2 knights are targets.
Yeah. But even so, if the computer is assessing a position where black is a knight up as just being, you know, 1 point better for black, it means that the position is very much unclear, not easy at all.
Yeah, definitely not easy. And this is the type of position, one slip from Duda, the evaluation bar will go the whole way over the other side to white. And again, if Mamedyarov doesn't find compensation for the piece, I was going to say he's sacrificing, but now the white knight can save itself. But if Mamedyarov can't find anything, then the bar will go all on black's side. So the black queen moves out of the line of that white bishop, but now the white knight, can it rejoin the action?
Yes.
It's supported by the white rook, so the knight can jump to the c5 square. White's rook on the first rank defends it. It's still so complicated. That knight would be captured, and there's consequences there. And so, I mean, it's just chaos. Both sides have like 6 or 7 tempting moves every turn, but they only have 5 minutes to work out what to do. And Duda looks stressed. Duda is slightly shaking his head, put his head down there. Mamedyarov's like, yeah, this is my bread and butter. Like,
yeah, because it's easier to attack than to defend. You know, obviously, if you make a bad move when you're defending, that's it. You lose the game. You get checkmated. Meanwhile, if you attack, OK, you can still gather momentum. You can still just recoup your forces and set problems somehow. And Duda really going through the range of emotions there. His head in his hands.
He must feel now that either he's blundered, it doesn't look that way, it still looks OK for black, or he feels he's missed a big opportunity, Duda. And we've seen that happen against Magnus in the past. OK, Duda ended up winning a game yesterday, but at some point he missed a win, and suddenly he was beating himself up. He kind of tilted. He ended up losing. I've got to say, great username, by the way, constantly tilting, the Aimchess profile that we analysed. That's what I do in my games sometimes, constantly tilt. But, these guys, they're good at tilting for like 30 seconds, like getting flustered and frustrated, but then they switch off and back to the current position.
Yeah.
And OK, the knight does save itself.
Yep.
Yeah, and look at Duda shaking his head, so he regrets the decision he made. Do you think he just got scared by knowing what Mamedyarov is capable of with sacrifices and craziness?
Yeah, that's always in the back of the mind, right? Nobody wants to be on the wrong end of a crushing defeat or beautiful victory.
I
mean, Anish had to suffer that when Mamedyarov blew him off the board. Rapport had to suffer that when Mamedyarov beat him in 16 moves. Plenty of the top players, they've been there. Mamedyarov has beaten them all at some point in nice style, but he doesn't want that now, Duda.
I also suspect that he miscalculated earlier on. He thought that this move perhaps wasn't possible.
Yeah. I think his idea, if we jump into the position, the reason Duda's shaking his head is because here he thought, oh, bishop takes knight, I can capture. And after white's rook takes back, the black knight can jump into the centre of the board, hitting this bishop, also hitting this rook, and black is about to win a piece. However, if we go back to the game position, there is a small detail, and it's what we call the Zwischenzug, in between move. After bishop takes knight, white is not obliged to immediately recapture. White could, for example, maybe they're stronger, but you could flick in a bishop takes knight check first, and after queen takes, now you take the bishop, and black doesn't have that idea of the knight jumping in to attack 2 pieces. So now it's level material, and black's king is more weak than the white king. Still very complicated, we got to say, but black has lost control. So in the current game position, I think this was his plan. Bishop takes knight, then jump into the center, but he forgot. And that's the easiest thing to do in chess, to forget about the opponent's options. And therefore, it's not so easy. I think he just wishes he'd taken this knight before, before it's too late. Now the knight's saving itself. At least if you're going to suffer, you might as well have an extra piece to suffer for. Now it's level material.
Yes, I agree. And whilst the players are deep in thought, well, I have another joke to share with you. This time from Gaurav Mukherjee, who sends us another picture. And it says, you were swerving. Hang on. Can't see. So
pretty badly back there. Let's see if you can walk in a straight line.
And the knight goes, ah, crap. Very good,
That's a good one.
I do like these chess comics. Keep your chess jokes coming. Remember to tweet us using the hashtag #ChessChamps.
And that is actually how that works, right? When the police stop someone who actually is drunk, they start straight, like the knight will do, and then
they step to the side.
Yeah. Good one.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be tough to choose a winner.
Yeah.
It will be, but we're going to have a lot of laughs.
Yep.
Yes, and the move on the board that Duda was planning after all, and we did see that Zwischenzug, that intermediate move of white's bishop taking a knight. So there've been a bunch of trades, a bunch of exchanges. It's less likely we'll see a direct knockout, direct checkmate now, but black's king still, long-term, has some issues. White's h6 pawn as well. Look, watch out for that pawn creating some mating nets, creating some mating ideas, or even promoting later, long-term. And white's king, meanwhile, can always tuck itself into the corner. It's relatively safe.
Yeah.
And Duda, look at the time as well. Look at the clock. Massive disadvantage there. That could be decisive.
Will we see a winner in this game, or will it be a draw? What do you think?
I still think there'll be a winner.
Yeah, I also agree with David. I think white will win, or it will fizzle out.
Okay.
But I don't know. I feel that black has to tread very cautiously here, and I do like what Duda has done. You know, attack the queen, offer a trade of rooks, and steer the game into the calmer endgames where the black king won't be so unsafe.
Actually, black can trade off a set of rooks and trade off a set of queens right now if he starts with this move. And there he goes. That's a check, hitting the white king, hitting the white queen as well. So queens had to get traded off. Oh, OK, maybe I shouldn't have said it will be a winner, because I think Duda's found maybe the only way to neutralise Shaq just before it's too late. That's why the top players, they're so good again. Pulling the handbrake just before you swerve, just before things go wrong. And it's level material on the board. Normally, rook and bishop work better than rook and knight. But yeah, here, with pawns on both sides of the board, it looks like black's relatively active. Not so easy.
No, it's not so easy. But still, I would not discount the bishop and the rook, especially with that pawn on h6 still being alive. I mean, you got to tread carefully, and you got to defend the right pawns. So, for instance, I mean, Shaq could step the bishop forward and attack the rook.
Yep, he could attack the rook. That would be a very Shaq move, attacking. The rook can gobble up a pawn.
And I think it's possible, but it's this move that you did, it comes with a risk, because after bishop takes pawn...
Yeah, I'll play a risky move again. I'll take this pawn in the centre.
Yeah, and this is the kind of thing that I was thinking about, that the white rook could suddenly centralise itself and put itself on d1, and then, oh no, the black king is in big trouble.
Yeah. And it gets complicated here. For example, black can maybe block this rook off with black's rook. Black can just retreat and go passive to cover the king on the 8th rank. And it's still a bit tricky. I agree, the black king does not look completely safe on its own in the corner, vulnerable to rook checks. But the problem is you are giving up a pawn in this line, so you have to calculate it correctly. That's why Shaq is thinking. So in the current position, if he wants to play safe, I guess he'll just take this pawn. And he'll just say, OK, I'll take this guy, you take this guy, and at the end, it'll be level pawns. Probably a draw, but white's bishop's still slightly better temporarily than this offside knight. Yeah, still, I would prefer white, I think. Not by much, but Yeah, Duda. I do feel that with the time situation, he's made a very good practical decision. Got the queens off, and against Shaq, that's step one. Get the queens off. That kills his fun, and he does play the safer move. Pawn takes pawn. Let's see if Duda takes back with his rook.
I think we're going to see the line.
Yeah, simplifying the position. Is he running out of ammunition, though? That's the question for Mamedyarov. He doesn't look too happy with that kind of change, with that course of action. OK, he does move his bishop. He is attacking a pawn, that back g-pawn.
Is there still stuff happening on the board that could end up in a winning situation? Is there pawns that could move all the way? Could the knight do some damage for Duda, or the bishop for Mamedyarov?
Yeah, there's still enough. There's still plenty of resources. If we see all of the pawns disappear, for example, if White's h-pawn gets traded off, if we see the 2 pawns in the centre, White's d-pawn, Black's e-pawn, and the 2 pawns on the right, those disappear. If it's just pawns on the left side of the board, it's going to be a draw, because they balance each other out. But if you look at the rest of the pawns on the right side, it's still imbalanced enough. And also bishop versus knight, that's always the trickiest thing in chess. I think that's why chess is so rich, kind of because they're technically worth around the same, but they do completely different jobs. So there's, as long as it's bishop versus knight, it's always a bit unclear, a bit imbalanced. And Duda ignores the threat of White's bishop going to take a pawn. He instead gets his knight back in the game. And the pawn in front of the White king, that b2 pawn, is attacked by Black's rook and by Black's knight. That could be a dampener for Mamedyarov. He doesn't look happy.
No, he doesn't.
I think this was a key move. Black's knight needed to get back in the game in a hurry.
Definitely, because also it's given a choice to Mamedyarov. You know, does he capture the pawn? Does he step back with the bishop? Does he trade? I mean, I would definitely not trade. That's the one move that I would say, if you want to win this game, just don't do that. Better to keep the bishop alive. But I would be tempted to step back with the bishop and then just maintain the tension. And at the right time, then capture the pawn. And the reason why it has to be the right time is I feel that the white rook actually isn't that active, and that's why he takes a step back. I mean, improve that one and then go forward with the bishop.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. White's bishop blocks the second rank, that black rook now less potent. And I'm expecting the black king at some point to take a step forward. Black's king, as we mentioned in a couple of variations there, could still be trapped on the back rank if it's not careful. So Black's king could, for example, block that white pawn. Other options. Black's g-pawn is under fire from the white bishop. It could move, but feels a bit shaky. He defends from the front. Duda, that black rook, is defending his own pawn.
This one I didn't like, actually. I liked your idea much better. Because here I just thought the white rook can then place itself on the e-line, start attacking some pawns.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. White's rook needs to activate. Shaq just under 2 minutes, Duda at 1 minute. He doesn't play that yet. I think he was maybe scared of a knight check. He centralizes his king slightly, but that rook move is coming, Jovanka. And the bar shifting sides slightly to black.
Oh, now's the time.
Now's the time for
the king to step forward. And now the rook comes to attack the pawn on e6.
We could still see a race. For example, now, after this pawn exchange, OK, I was about to say White's rook is going to go up, but that would have actually allowed some checks on the first rank. He's hitting the black knight, and where's Black's knight going? It can actually go and gobble up White's a pawn, it does, but the knight is trapped. You have to be a bit careful that that knight doesn't get hit. There's no escape squares for it.
And it's like deja vu for Jan-Krzysztof Duda. Do you remember he had a trapped knight against Magnus? It was in a different pattern, I'll give you that.
But still,
rook and bishop versus rook and knight, and he had to contort and play very accurately to get that knight out of jail.
But he did draw that one yesterday.
He did.
So he's used to playing with bad knights. We would say the knight's stable. It's stuck in the stable, dominated by White's bishop. And Duda looks very happy with himself after that last move, going after White's central pawn. The problem is, for Mamedyarov, you've only got 2 pawns left. If they start to disappear, no more winning chances. I think Mamedyarov has to just be a bit careful now and just go for the draw, which he can do. He's still 2 pawns down, but he can take the pawn next to the black king with a check.
Can he?
Yeah, and then he can go after... And then he can take both pawns, essentially, Mamedyarov.
Yeah.
take that one first, and then go take the other one and counterattack against Black's knight.
Yeah, he's doing that, and the game will soon fizzle out into a draw.
Yeah, any moment.
And here it comes, rook takes knight, and then you're going to see the Black King move as fast as it possibly can over to the action on the left side. You imagine an old man with a stick. Oh, I'm getting there, I'm getting there.
Yeah, one step at a time. But that Black King, the problem is, if you forget to play with your king in any endgame, like now, then White is essentially playing with his king and rook against the Black rook. So that's why, okay, first he pushes his pawn, this is fine as well, but that Black pawn might even drop at some point, but Black's king, as long as it goes all the way over to the b file to sit in front of where that White pawn will promote, then it's a draw, even if you lose your pawn.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, meanwhile, it's going to be hard for Mamedyarov to even win that Black pawn. Will Duda give it up? Will he defend it? He can just defend it with the Black rook.
Yeah, I think he will defend it with the Black rook. And there you go.
No way through.
The White King tries to make its way forward, but the Black King is coming. Teamwork makes the dream work in endgames.
Yeah, and there's a barrier. The White King can't pass this barrier on the 4th rank that the Black rook has created. And we're going to see a draw any second. The players repeat the position. After a really tense fight, it is a draw.
Oh, that was not the result Shakhriyar Mamedyarov was hoping for. This was his final game today with the white pieces. It is a draw, and that means Duda, with one more game to play, is in the lead in this first match. A draw or a win in the final game means he wins the first match. Mamedyarov will be in a must-win situation in 15 minutes to tie the first match. Now, this game, it seemed like it would have fireworks. Is there something we should take a look at, David?
Yeah, maybe there's just one moment where actually Duda had a big advantage, but it would have required nerves of steel, so much courage to win this game. And it was this moment we saw Duda shaking his head. He wasn't happy with himself, and that was because he could have been greedy. He could indeed have just grabbed this white knight before it ran away. If he had taken it, for example, the white queen recaptures. Black is still in charge here. Still a bit scary because White's bishops are so good, but if the Black queen moves, for example, to this square, White should not have enough compensation for Black's extra knight. So Duda could have gone for this, but it would have been playing with fire, and instead we saw him go for a bunch of simplifications. Moving his queen away, he actually missed this move. Bishop takes knight. This is why he was shaking his head, but the key was in this position, moving the knight out the way. Next move, swapping rooks. Next move, swapping queens with a nice check, and we saw this endgame was a draw. So Duda took the safe approach. Will he regret it in the final game?
That's going to be interesting to see. Will we see fireworks, or will Duda be able to get a draw in that game? It's coming up in a little less now than 14 minutes. We're going to take a little break, hear from our much-loved partners, and when we come back, again, we're going to go back 50 years in time and take a look at that dramatic match in 1972 between Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the new Chess24 playing experience. Play in light mode or dark mode. Choose from a range of time controls or create a custom game. And get paired with players from around the world fast. Enjoy a polished playing experience while making moves on a fresh, responsive board to claim your victories. Train and improve with over 80,000 puzzles. And that's not all. Download now and discover what more you can enjoy in our brand new app.
Air quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Air Things.
Hi there, it's me, Jan-Krzysztof, inventor of chess. And are you sick of sucking at chess? Well, lucky for you, I have also invented Aimchess. Look at this chess puzzle. Did you solve it? Of course not, that's because you're not using Aimchess. Aimchess is a digital chess trainer that helps you improve by creating unique lessons based on your recent games. Just link your chess.com, Chess, or Chess24 account and feel that brain wrinkle. Yeah, see, you shouldn't have blundered your queen just there. Now I know! Thanks, Aimchess! Now all that's left to figure out is how that funny horse moves. They even got acquired by that one chess player other than Hikaru, so you know it's good. Hi, it's me, that guy I just mentioned, and I'm the best chess man in the world. But thanks to Aimchess, I also have a girlfriend now as well. This could be you! Personalized training, game reports and analysis disease, study plans, thick, luscious hair, intuition builder. All this and more available on Aimchess.
Hello?
Courtney, did you know that Aimchess users improve their ratings 43% faster than average?
What?
So what are you waiting for? Join Aimchess today. Links will be somewhere, probably. I don't know, I just made the video. Aimchess. Sign up now and get 50k silver and 2 free months off your VPN. Now that's what I call a queen's gambit. That's so fucking dumb. Aimchess, for when you aim to chess. That's their slogan. It's what they say. Ready, aim, chess. That's another. It's... Look, just sign up for Aimchess, okay? Just, come on, literally, why not? All right, just stop being a dick for like 5 seconds and just go, all right? Jesus Christ.
Welcome back to Aimchess Rapid. Game 4 is starting in a few minutes. In a few days, the World Championship match in World Championship in Fischer Random Chess is starting in Iceland. Magnus Carlsen will compete, Hikaru Nakamura, Wesley So, and others will compete in that exciting championship. And obviously it's named after its founder, Bobby Fischer. He founded Fischer Random Chess, and he did become world champion in Iceland exactly 50 years ago. And we're now gonna take a trip back to Iceland and to 1972 and see what happened in that match.
I'm going to show you the main stage.
This is the area.
So exactly here they would have played.
Yeah. Soviet Union was the land of chess. No one had played for the World Chess Championship since 1948, when Botvinnik became the World Chess Champion. Spassky was very confident. He had never lost to this man.
But Bobby Fischer had a higher rating than Boris Spassky, and he had also been playing exceptionally well in the candidates.
They're afraid of him. They have been for years.
And now you're going to get him?
Oh, now I'm going to try to get him.
In Iceland, and I think that in the world, most people thought that Bobby Fischer was the favorite.
So the players were here, and the audience, I guess,
were here. This was extraordinarily captivating event.
Everything was really large. It was a big event for me. The Laugardalshöll, the chess stadium, it was filled, capacity 3,500 people attending every game. So it was such a huge event to see these tiny guys sitting on stage and playing their games. And what struck me about Bobby was his concentration. It was really incredible. He sat there the entire 5 hours, concentrating on games.
He was one of the big heroes of those who like chess. He was this very creative, very eccentric, strange genius.
He was playing the great power, the Soviet Union, the genius Boris Spassky.
Well, Spassky is waiting.
Wait, here comes Fischer, coming on the stage saying that he was caught in traffic.
Game 1 was a huge failure for the American.
Now watch, see Fischer turn around here? He's checking to see that camera location.
Fischer protested, saying the television cameras distracted him.
Then he demanded that all the cameras would be removed during the second game. And if he didn't have a guarantee for the cameras to be removed, he would not show up. And that's what happened.
He lost it by forfeit.
A suggestion was made by the chief arbiter, Lothar Schmidt, that they would play the third game in the back room, the ping-pong room.
This is the room.
Ah, it's a classroom now.
He got an agreement to play the third game there, else it was over. Fischer had ordered a ticket to fly to the States.
Fischer, Spassky and Schmidt gathered in the ping-pong room. Fischer was still not happy, and then they started arguing.
He was on his way out when Fischer was shouting at him and shouting at Lothar Schmidt, telling him to shut up, for instance. And then Spassky turned to Lothar and said, I'm walking out, you know. And he was heading for the door when Lothar chased him and dragged him back into the room. And that's when and he just somehow pressed their shoulders to start playing.
In the middle of the game, Fischer made a crucial move that seemed like a blunder.
This is completely a turning point in the match. Fischer had played right here. All the best chess players stood up and said, it's over. He can't do this. No one can play this against the world chess champion.
But it was a good move. He sacrificed his knight, and he was rewarded for it.
He won.
Fischer was closing the gap. In Game 6, he played astonishingly well and took the lead for the first time. Spassky was unable to stop him, and Fischer went on to win the match.
Tell us how you feel about it.
They played 21 games, but it was Game 3, Spassky said, that broke him.
When I lost the third game, I lost the match. I couldn't play. And I said, Boris, this is nonsense. It should be 24 games. And it stood after the third game 2-1 for you. How could it be lost? I'm telling the truth, he said, I lost.
For 24 long years, the Soviet Union had held the title. Now, the American was the new world champion.
He was celebrated when he came to the States as a national hero.
50 years after the match, it is still considered one of the most famous matches in history.
This will never ever be repeated. Never you will have in a world chess champion two competitors that are so much unlike each other. On one side, the world champion, which the Soviet Union discovered maybe after year 6 years. He got the best tournaments, the best trainers, and everything the best. On the other side, we had this troubled genius who had been brought up by a single mother. He had learned chess because she had not had money to have him in a children's home. So he sat on the floor at their home, moving wooden pieces from black squares to white squares, trying to learn to play. All the contrasts, all the adversaries that you can think of in the world, they were there.
And he did become world chess champion, Bobby Fischer, in 1972. He didn't hold the title for long. He never showed up to defend his title. But what a match that was. How impressive was it by Bobby Fischer when he was down in the match and he made that huge comeback?
Yeah, I mean, he was just a once-in-a-generation type of talent. He augmented that with hard work, and he was also fighting against the Soviet Union machine where they had a bunch of players dominating world chess, and he was the only one who could break that dominance. And yeah, I think chess kind of hit a new level after that. The media coverage around the world, it was unsurpassed, maybe until this year, 50 years later, until 2022, when there are new headlines. But yeah, Bobby Fischer, it's a pity he stopped after that match because he could have dominated world chess for years and years.
Yeah.
He was that good.
You mentioned new headlines. There is a huge headline right now. I can see in Norwegian newspaper, Hans Niemann is suing Magnus Carlsen. That is big news after the cheating accusations. There will definitely be more on that in the coming days. Well, Bobby Fischer made a comeback to become world champion, and Mamadjaro, he will have to make a comeback to tie this first match in the final in the Aimchess Rapid. Jan-Krzysztof Duda is in the lead, and he will win this first match with a win or a draw. So what's happening on the board?
Well, Mamadjaro is in the mood to take risks, Jovanka. This last pawn push is only ever played by top players when they really want to win.
Yes. And I do believe that Duda should say yes to the challenge and step forward with the pawn. Don't play anything else.
Yeah.
We want the fun. Yes, and he does it. He takes on the challenge. And here we have, what is this called?
I can't remember.
I've kind of written
it. It's called a dubious opening for black.
Yes. I called it something in my notes, but I don't know. But this is one line that I have played where the bishop comes out, puts pressure on the knight. And this was not the best move. I actually had a nice system against this particular variation. It's much more common, actually, to develop the queen to protect the knight. And now I advocate just capture the knight.
Yeah, white's bishop can capture that black knight. It can ruin the pawn structure for black there. Also, the advances that black's made on the queen side, right? Especially that black b5 pawn, it's undefended. You gain some time against that. OK, Duda has gone for the most principled approach with an exchange. And this tends to be regarded as very pleasant for white, because actually the structure in the centre as well, white's pawn on the d5 square just clamps down on the black position. You have full control over the light squares often. Mm-hmm. And I play this position with actually reversed colours when I have a tempo more, when I have white, but basically doing what black does. And even then, I really don't like it. So here we go. White's light squared bishop was pointing at a pawn. Now white puts even more pressure, and that pawn has had to move. Before, it was too late. That black pawn on the b4
very
square.
Good.
And now white's knight can come out from the queen side. White's bishop can move. White's the first to castle. Mm-hmm. Pleasant for Duda. But Mamadjaro has imbalanced it. That's what he needs to do if he wants to win this game.
And he develops his knight. So this knight is on a great square because it's going to jump onto the dream square, which is to put it on c4. And well, Mamadjaro, he has to take risks. So he pushes forward with his doubled f-pawn. And I love this move from Duda, just clamping down on the left side of the board. Knight's in his dream square, pawn is in its dream square. The only thing that white has to worry about is the power of this dark squared bishop.
Yeah, it is very powerful, though. You mentioned that phrase. How are we ever going to contain this dark squared bishop? This piece is unrivaled. White's traded off his dark squared bishop, and it cuts across the board. The main tension will be later on this pawn, right? This is the big weakness. It's defended by white's knight, first of all. It's defended again for a second time by white's rook. And Duda has to hurry and get his king to safety before things open up. I'm expecting white's bishop to just kind of step one square. You mentioned this outpost, Jovanka. It's really nice, but where does it go next this night? Does it just stay there forever?
It stays there forever and ever and ever. Just a thorn in the black side. Because if the black knight, if it wants to develop, I mean, it can't really develop to the d7 square because some pawns are loose, the d6 pawn. And I do like Duda's last move, even though it looks a bit strange, developing the bishop to the long diagonal.
Yeah, but I like what Duda's doing. I also like what Mamadjaro's doing, moving his rook. And the computer really likes black, I've got to say. Computers often like the bishop pair, so this is why. But in the current position, look at black's pieces. They are coming to life. This rook is on a nice file now. At some point later, maybe, not right now, but later, it can come attack this knight. I'm expecting the black queen at some point to move, just to defend this pawn, and then, like you said, the black knight can develop. Maybe the black bishop can kind of come to this square and attack this white knight. It's a very imbalanced position. The one thing I will say from white's point of view is it looks really nice and pretty, but there's no plan. And I've found that when I've studied these types of positions before. So I like what Duda's done in general, but I think there were maybe slightly better ways of doing it. Usually in these positions, when I was studying, white should have wanted to push his pawn forward earlier, just while it was possible, because now it's too late. Black clamps down on this square. If you can't push pawns as white, you lack a plan. So yeah, it's still very tense. Both sides have pluses, minuses in their position. Black also can't push any pawns, so a bit frustrating there. But can Duda, can he just hold the fort? Or will Mamedyarov find that activity that he's craving?
You've been studying the old classics. Houska against Romain Edouard. And Houska against Leroux. These two grandmasters, I was actually winning both games, but I drew.
Is this a French speciality to French grandmasters playing this opening against you?
Yeah, and it was actually within the same month as well.
Okay.
So it must have been something that they kind of cooked up or was going around, just around the world, the chess world at that time, that this perhaps was a good way for Black to unbalance things. But I was like, no, not against me. And there we see Duda manoeuvre his knight. And I agree with you, David. I think it's very difficult, actually, for Duda to come up with an active plan. And Mamedyarov, well, he doesn't need to be asked twice. He pushes Harry. And his idea is to push Harry one square more and destabilize the white king. And that's why Duda reacts immediately by copying.
Yeah, but pieces are gravitating towards the king side now. Black's knight, for example, is coming over towards that white king. Still very tense. Duda not fussed at all. He looks so calm. I would not be as calm with white, I've got to say, just because, firstly, the match situation, you have the lead. You want to be 100% sure you don't blow it away with white. You don't kind of make any rash decisions. But he's blitzing. Mamedyarov's gained a minute since the game started. Both of them, it feels like they're impatient to get to the action point of the game. And wow, the evaluation part reacting.
It came suddenly from
Why
nowhere.
so much? I mean, there's no tactic. There's no checks in this position. There's no good captures. Maybe there's a threat that you can create. Why is the bar so far in white's favour? I guess it's maybe just the fact that the black light-squared bishop is now misplaced, and now you open up one line. Finally, we talk about pawn breaks. White should be playing on the queen side. That's where he has most of his pieces. His pawns are very advanced for white on this left side. So he's opening up lines. Maybe Mamedyarov not quite ready to meet this. And, OK. Just as I was praising what he was doing, evaluation bar says, OK, slightly careless. And the problem is you can't keep everything blocked now. You have to trade off a set of pawns before white took you. And black's rooks look good, but they are staring against concrete there. They are staring against the wall of white pawns. So I'm expecting white now to use the only fully open file, that's the B file, and at some point shift his rooks over there.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I'm just looking at the bar and I'm seeing it slide even more in white's direction. There's no tactical shot. I think it's just simply that white's position is just very overwhelming because of this open line. And black has just no targets whatsoever.
Yeah, but then again, for a human, it feels like black is relatively active.
Yeah.
So Duda is not going to know that he's got this massive advantage. I don't know, if you saw this position, Jovanka, without the evaluation bar, if you were playing, for example, from the white side, which you have in the past, this opening, you would think, oh, maybe slightly better, but I don't know. What would you be thinking here?
I was thinking, when I was playing against these two players, I was thinking, I'm caning, I'm winning it, I'm crushing. But if I were facing Mamedyarov, I would be, again, very aware of him making active moves. And I do like his knight jump with the idea of relocating to the centre, just asking questions to the queen. But the problem, though, I mean, if I go deeper, there's no point, actually.
But there's a threat on the board, I think, for black, maybe to sacrifice this knight to blow open the position. For example, if white wastes a move, I'm not sure how, just moves a rook, for example, then knight takes pawn could be maybe an issue, just to make sense of these black rooks. And after the recapture, suddenly black's rooks spring to life. The white queen has to move somewhere. Another pawn might drop. You get 3 pawns for the piece.
Okay.
This bishop might suddenly come to life, maybe on this diagonal. That's why, OK, he stops this idea, Duda. He retreats his knight. I like this one, just keeping this square overprotected. Even if that line I showed wasn't good for black, you don't want to risk it, right? You don't want to allow things to change, especially against someone like Mamedyarov. Don't let him attack. So you defend. White's rook is coming in as well. This is a really nice square outpost for the rook to enter the black camp. The knight wasn't doing anything there. The rook from that square would attack this pawn in conjunction with the white knight.
Yeah, maybe it's time for Mamedyarov to give up material and try to initiate the random chaos button, but it's difficult to find. I was thinking,
maybe
step back with the bishop.
Okay, step back with the bishop.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't see any... No, the light squared bishop wasn't working.
Step back with this bishop, yeah. And if white's rook comes in...
I was kind of hoping to... You really don't want to go passive in this type of position. OK, he steps back with the queen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe his idea is to get this queen active somehow, but to me it looks like Mamedyarow's about to be seriously on the back foot after this rook idea. Coming in, Duda doesn't blink, he plays it instantly. How do you stop this? I mean, for example, if you have to just go passive, like you said, as black, just defend, maybe at some point you can dream of pushing this pawn forward, getting the black queen out. He does play this, but you're just so slow. And white's rooks can come up, team up against this black bishop, kick it away.
That would be the first move I think about, force the bishop to a passive square. And then again, you still look at the position. You know, black has only one pawn break.
Yeah.
And if you control it, what next?
Yeah, black wants to push this pawn so that his queen can jump out towards the white king, but like you say, you can just bring your knight over and just cover the square if you need to. You can also, for example, start creating threats. The rook can move across, you can bring your other rook in, try to pin and win, but wow, he finds a tactic. Jan-Krzysztof Duda, has he just won a pawn? If we go back to the game situation, he's just taken this pawn with his knight. Maybe that's just a really strong move. The black rook has to take this knight, it was too strong, and now the black rook can no longer defend its bishop. So white has won a pawn. Looks like a very good idea, unless black has something now. The valuation bar does judge that white is winning. Yeah, very important pawn. Black's rook is a bad blockade as well. It's going to get hit by the white knight.
Yeah, and the white pawn on d5, comfortably defended. Yeah. I must admit, I criticised Jan-Krzysztof Duda's opening. Like, I couldn't quite see a clear plan, but he's shown us exactly how white should play this position and against this variation. And it's been model play so far. And this was a move that I had on my radar many moons ago, but it just looks like it doesn't quite work.
He's gambling now.
Totally. I mean, he's kind of hoping for Duda to capture that pawn with the wrong pawn. So it would be the G pawn. But of course...
Even that looks fine for white, to be honest. I think you can take this pawn both ways. And yeah, I agree. I don't really want the black queen to swoop out. But are you surprised, Jovanka? Look at the clock times. Mamedyarov still at nearly 15 minutes, and it's moved 26. And he's had to make some critical decisions. Some crucial moments just bypassed in this game, almost.
Yeah.
It feels like they're playing blitz. It feels like they're both just itching to get to day 2 of the final.
Well, that's a problem for Mamedyarov, though, because you do not want to be starting day 2 in a must-win situation. And the way it's looking now, I mean, he will be definitely losing this match, and tomorrow will be a big ask.
Yeah, it just feels like with black, he's trying to whip up too much. He's trying to create too much, and Duda's just not kind of backing down. Duda's calling him out on his mistakes. And you mentioned this move, Jovanka, with Duda thinking now for over a minute. You mentioned there's one way you would take back. You would take back this way, most likely.
Oh, most likely, with the e-pawn, just to preserve the integrity of the pawns there on the right.
Yeah, they will defend each other. That's nice. If you took with the other, if you take the other way, sorry, then the black queen at least gets active. And although you can defend by bringing the white knight over, you control squares, you defend this pawn with the white rook. Although you can get away with this, I'm not sure you
looks good, though.
It does look very good to me. OK, he goes the other way. I think the other way is the more natural one, at least. And yes, black gets one check. Black can throw his rook in with a check, but this is easily blocked, right? The white knight steps back. Yeah, this is the problem with opposite colour bishops as well. Unless you can break through completely, your opponent's bishop will be able to control one colour complex. And we do see this position on the board. The black queen shifts over. Where's she coming? Where's she going? I don't see it.
I don't see it. I think she just did it just simply to prevent the white rook swinging over and offering a trade.
Yeah, white's rook can't do that, but white's rook steps across, and white's rook is coming up to try and pin the black queen. OK, the black king's had to move, but white is 2 pawns up. Surely there's a way. I mean, even if you take the slow approach and just kind of try and kick away this black rook.
Looks good.
Feels like black has no threats.
It looks very convincing, David. I think as long as you keep one rook around the second row, just to defend, keep everything protected, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, this is the only weak spot for white. This is the only square black can ever break through on. So just keep your rook defending it. And should be winning now for Duda. +5, the computer says. Just with a bit of care. He's got plenty of time as well. He should be wrapping up today's match.
Went all wrong for Mamadjaro, not only this game, but today. Or has it gone all wrong for him or Duda? Just really good strategy today, not giving Mamadjaro any chances.
Yeah, got to praise Duda just in general. Every facet of his game, the openings, when Duda's had black, rock solid. The last game, he could have been more ambitious maybe, but when the critical moments came, he made safe decisions. Got to praise him for that. With white Duda, 2 games ago, very impressive. This game, very impressive again. Yeah, I'm struggling to find, superlatives for him because he's just been so impressive. I'm very composed, calm. It's nice when a player keeps control, especially with white. You don't want to let it get too crazy. Here, Mamadjaro's throwing everything at him, but he's saying, "Okay, I'll take your pawns, but I'm still defending." And I think that's the strategy against these great attackers. You just have to stay super, super calm. Sometimes they attack you, it's inevitable. You just got to be able to control things when that happens, and there we go. Trying to trade off pieces, 2 pawns up. Getting rid of black's defensive rook makes a lot of sense.
It definitely does. And of course, Mamadjaro cannot make that trade, so he steps back. But you step back, I go forward. Is it now time to start pushing the d-pawn?
Yeah, white has a very strong pass d-pawn. You could maybe be greedy and grab black's a-pawn.
I was just thinking that as well. I think I probably would capture that pawn because, after all, 2 better than 1.
Yeah, actually it's 3. White's already 2 pawns up.
Oh, OK, yes.
Yeah, 3 pawns. I don't know if you need to be that greedy.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, it's tempting. I don't see any reason not to be, essentially. There we go. 3 pawns up now for Duda.
Has the seal of approval. And still, take a look at the white king side. The bishop and knight, they're sterling defenders. They hold everything together. And Duda gives a shake of his head, takes a sip of water, and just gets ready for what Shak is going to generate.
Yeah, he's trying his best, Shak. The black queen is now in the white half. Again, no threats. Everything is protected. Everything's covered. The only loose piece for white is white's rook on the second rank. That's the only piece that might get tactically... it's a tactical weakness, as you call it, Jovanka, just because there'll be some double attacks where it's loose, undefended, but shouldn't be enough.
And look at Mamadjaro. Looks like he is already giving up, and this game has lasted for 31 moves, and he still has 14 minutes and 47 seconds left on this clock. Yeah. That is only 13 seconds less than what he started with. Horribly wrong. Yeah. This must have gone.
Yeah, I think it was a bad opening choice, somewhat, because Duda just played it very confidently. He knew all the plans that needed to be done, and it was very, very effective. Somehow, Mamadjaro never got going. And, he leaned back just there, and he said to himself, OK, you need to go into hustle mode. Coffee house chess is in order. You need to just push your pieces forward, put them in random positions, hope for the best. Because ultimately, Duda is winning. And if he navigates this with precision, he will walk away with match victory.
Yeah, some players, against certain opponents, Shak might still be feeling confident in hustling and swindling. But Duda's so good when he, needs to defend or needs to find a narrow path. And he calls his opponents out on their bluffs. So, OK, he's going for the 7th rank now. The black king is just as weak as the white king, to be honest. So why not? 3 pawns up and on the attack, Duda. Yeah, it feels like Mamadjaro just lost his composure. He forgot that you can just play on your opponent's nerves. He tried so hard to avoid a forced draw in the opening that he ended up with a losing position by move 20. So, yeah, there's different strategies. You go all out, but then you can risk burning your bridges and being, losing a one-sided game, or you just keep the tension, but you risk maybe walking into a draw. So it's swings and roundabouts, but it hasn't gone well for Shak in this one. And I have noticed, actually, the older players, when it gets really tense, really nervous, like Aronian, they play super quickly. There's a case in England as well, Jonathan Spillman, very strong grandmaster, great guy, former world number 3, I think, yeah, one of the best players in the world. The older he gets, the quicker he plays, just because I think he doesn't want the tension, and he just wants to kind of rush through things, and nobody enjoys sitting there and calculating. It's not that much fun. So for Shaq, chess is fun, but it's also his job, so I don't know. I think he wants the fun part, but without the stress, without the calculation, without the boring side.
That's sensible. And also with experience, maybe you can trust your gut feeling more, your intuition more.
Exactly, yeah. And less to lose. Once you're kind of further in your career, you're like, oh, I've achieved a lot already. I can play with freedom. When you're young, it's like, I need to win this. I need to achieve, I need to prove to people. So that's why I think Aronian as well, he's become so much quicker in rapid chess, especially on the tour.
That's very interesting. I hadn't really noticed that. I always had gone by the assumption that the older you are, the slower you are. You know, you sit down, you need your cup of tea, you need to get yourself in the right frame of mind, you need to take that pause and go, whew. But
I agree.
But David is right. It's the more nervous you get. It's like, you know, when you're a child, you're free, you're banned, you know, you can just jump off all those things and you don't care.
Yeah.
When you're an adult, you kind of know what's in store and you know what's ahead, and tension, it's stressful.
Yeah. I heard that comes at the age of 27. The last thing in the brain to be developed is the consequence center. And that develops at around 27.
Wow. That's interesting, actually.
Yeah.
It was around that age where I started, being a bit afraid.
I
was
know.
Like, against the younger players, I was like, oh, I don't really want to take this risk. Just what if they beat me?
Yeah.
But until that, I was like, yeah, I'll attack. I'll sacrifice a rook. I don't mind. I don't care. But okay, interesting. 27. So okay, to everyone watching out there, you know, it's never too late. But if you're younger than 27, take those risks.
Yeah, be aware of it, right? That's very important. And I do like Duda's move. He just moved his rook to the b7 square. The rooks are now defending each other. Beautiful. Defensive. And also he's threatening to drop down with the b2 rook and offer a trade. And of course, because he is material up, peace trades will help him.
Yeah, for example, if black defends this pawn that's a bit loose, the rook is kind of attacking it. It's tied down at the moment, but for example, let's say black steps back. Sensible move, Jovanka's idea. Yeah, just retreating, getting rid of this, the most active black piece, trading it off, and okay, black can win one pawn back, but that's not going to be enough. You're still 2 pawns up with white, and long term, this pawn is just going to win the game. So yeah, that's in his pocket, Shaq, anytime he wants it, most likely. And the reason in this position, that the black queen doesn't really want to go and take this pawn is that suddenly there's no more tension, no more attack on this rook, freeing up the other rook. Rook takes pawn now, and white is going to break through against the black king. So, yeah, full control. How can black even improve his pieces? It's not clear. This piece can't be improved. It's got to guard the advance of this pawn. The black bishop can't be improved. The black knight can't really be improved. Just no way to increase the momentum, and it's only Duda who can improve his position. This pawn is marching, this pawn is under fire from white's rook.
Okay, well, you know, he was all these pawns down. Why not be one more? And there you go, he offers another pawn. I mean, white can simply capture that. I mean, is there anything?
4 pawns are better than 3. 4 pawns up for Duda now.
Yeah. And, I mean, also there's a big threat of white simply pushing the a-pawn forward as well. Yeah. It's just devastating. It's such a great position for Duda.
Yeah, this one has been complete dominance. It's been very one-sided. And as well, another really instructive example of using your time. Yeah, you shouldn't play this quickly no matter what. It's move 33. Shaq still has nearly 11 minutes left, but you don't take that game, you don't take that time with you to tomorrow, you don't take it to the next game. What's the point having 10, 11 minutes if you're completely lost? 4 pawns down. Black won 1 pawn back, but now white wins a different one. And the rooks are both coming to the 7th rank. We call them the blind pigs. They'll just devour anything in their path.
And one is going to come right now.
Yeah.
There's going to be 2 rooks along the 7th row. Do you think we're going to see a resignation?
Soon. Shaq looks in pain. There we go. The problem is the black bishop can't move. If it does, the white rook will slide behind the black king. Checkmate.
Yep.
The computer says plus 13. This one is not going to last too much longer. I think we'll see Shaq resign and...
Yep,
we have it.
We have it.
We have the result.
It's over. A loss in game 4 and also a loss in the match for Mamedyarov. Oh, he doesn't look happy. And so doesn't Jan-Krzysztof Duda. But he must be happy inside because a match win in the first match here in the final is very good news for Jan-Krzysztof Duda. If he is able to just tie the match tomorrow or win it, he will be the winner of the Aimchess Rapid. And what a game. Mamedyarov really went all in for a victory here. What happened?
Yeah, he went all in, Mamedyarov, from a very early stage. Even his opening choice was very risky, and we jump in at this moment where Duda was about to punish Mamedyarov for that risky opening choice. And Mamedyarov here, he's put his pieces on good squares, especially the rooks, the black knight, but there's no way through. There's just no pawn breaks, therefore no plan. And Duda punished this by going after the key weakness in all of these types of openings, all these pawn structures, like the Benoni. This is always the key target. And Mamedyarov tried to defend it in this position. It's attacked twice. He tried to defend it with his rook. But we saw Duda 4 pawns up at the end. This is how he won his first pawn. Knight takes pawn, and the black rook is simply overworked. It wants to do 2 jobs. It wants to defend its bishop. It wants to capture this knight, but it can't do both. After the knight disappeared, black's bishop also disappeared, and we saw Duda a clear pawn up. He went on to build that advantage nicely in a controlled manner, and he won the game.
Incredible stuff. Let's hope we get some reactions from our 2 finalists. Still hope for Mamedyarov to make a comeback tomorrow and win the match and take it to tiebreaks. What will he have to do differently tomorrow then, Jovanka?
Well, the first step is actually to use more time on his clock. I mean, we finished actually very, very early.
Your predictions were correct. Yeah.
So I think you know, first of all, just use more time on the clock. Just navigate the complications with a little bit more time, and I would perhaps just initiate more tension in the opening and in the middle game, and don't play bad openings.
Yeah. Someone who played great openings, Jan-Krzysztof Duda. Congratulations on a big win in the first match.
Thank you.
How happy are you with the way you performed today?
Yes, I'm very happy. Actually, I very like the second game, also from the aesthetic point of view. I mean, this idea h4 g4 was kind of random. I didn't say it in advance, but once I saw it, I realized it was very, very powerful, and actually it was. I mean, suddenly it was very, very difficult to play for him, I think, because I basically was going to play g5 no matter what, and get access to some dark squares, mostly to the e5 square. So of course, we made some inaccuracies, some blunders, but actually I kind of regret that. I took on f4 instead of going rook f6, and potentially there could have been nice variation with me marching the king from f2 to a3. I actually saw that, but after in this variation after rook a8 check, I stopped. But after rook a6, I was I would have been winning. So but that's only from the aesthetic point of view. Otherwise, I'm very satisfied in the way I played with actually both courts. In all games. Okay, maybe in the third game I got a little bit confused after the opening because Shaq of course likes to castle on the queen side, but somehow I didn't realize it was basically QGD position. So and it shouldn't work for him. I had only one serious oversight, I think, in this match, in this very third game, when I thought that queen f7 was basically winning, and forgot that after knight c5, bishop takes c5, you can include bishop takes f6 with check. I just calculated rook takes c5, knight e4, and believed I was better, maybe even winning. So but after that, I played in a very good way, because I basically simplified to the round endgame.
Yeah, definitely. And our experts here were really complimenting you on the way that the plan you basically had for this match. You were breaking the rules, you were creating chess, and did you have a plan to just play chess that would annoy Mamadjarov a little bit, that wouldn't let him play to his strengths?
Not really. I think we both like dynamic, aggressive, and irrational chess. So yeah, I basically played what I felt like, I would say. Of course, my strategy, but I mean, it's always the same, is to try to squeeze with white and be very solid with black. I think it's very efficient strategy, especially in the matches.
Now, you mentioned it also, in Game 3, he did castle queenside. We were just jumping in our chairs. This is going to be a crazy game. What did you think at that point? Did you get a little scared that there would be sacrifices and craziness in that game?
Yeah, I was very confused, actually, because I think I had line in my notes with d4 instead of bishop takes c5. And only then, after long castle, bishop takes c5. So in the position in the game, I could have played d4, transposing to this variation, which I also kind of didn't remember during the game. But yeah, but then I realized that why on earth I would play d4? Like there's absolutely no reason. And yeah, and I had a feeling actually that it's kind of very bad for him. And I was calculating the strongest move knight b4, but for some reason rejected it. I mean, because of queen b1 basically, and a3 next. But maybe it was actually nothing, because I can just retreat knight c6 and placing his queen on b1 and pawn on a3 is hardly an improvement for him. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but I got very set confused because yeah, I'm not really a QGD player, and yeah, I actually didn't know how supposedly bad it is for him.
You said QDT?
Overall, I think it was very, very okay.
Yeah, you just said you're not a QDT player. Just what is that?
QGD, Queen's Gambit, declined.
Aha.
Because basically it could have transposed, because in that opening black puts his bishop on e7, but then can recapture on c5. In my game, it was bishop from b4 capturing the pawn on c5, but eventually it happened to be the very same position.
All right. Now, I have to tell you, Jan-Krzysztof, you now have a tour rating of 28-24. That is a peak for you on the tour. Do you feel like you're playing the best chess you played on the tour so far?
It's a difficult question, but I'm very happy with how many points I actually get, because there are always some ups and downs. But in many tournaments, I was also kind of satisfied with my play, but results weren't exactly there. So if you combine both of these elements, it's perfect. And yeah, maybe it's actually kind of the best performance in Meltwater Champions Chess Tour. Yeah. But it's difficult to judge.
And tomorrow, day 2 of the final. Are you looking forward to it?
Not really. I think I guess it could be over by now. Yeah. But of course, it's like it will be anything but easy for me, and but I'm in very comfortable situation, and yeah, also looking forward to this match. Yeah. I mean, if I have to play it, I think it will be a lot of fun, actually.
We are super happy you have to play. It's going to be entertaining. Jan-Krzysztof, good luck tomorrow, and congrats on winning today.
Thank you.
Can you relate to that, David? Not really looking forward to playing that match when you're in the lead. You wish it was over already.
Yeah, I get that feeling all the time, Kaja. Every time I sit down at the board, it's the tension. It can weigh on the mind. And Duda, he knows he's done enough to win the tournament. He just needs that one final step. Yeah. But that's always the most difficult one.
Oh, it really is. We've seen so many comebacks on the tour, and that's what Mamadjarov has to do tomorrow. Let's take a look at the results from the 4 Rapid games today. Winning Game 2 and Game 4, both of those with the white pieces. Jan-Krzysztof Duda won this very first match. Mamadjarov, he will now have to win tomorrow's match with 4 Rapid games and take it to tiebreaks to have a chance to win the Aimchess Rapid. And we're also going to announce a winner of our joke quiz today.
Yeah, we asked everyone to send us their best jokes, and you guys certainly knocked it out of the ballpark. But there has to be one winner, and that goes to Murali Haran, who says, let me guess. You didn't get the promotion. That was an epic picture, and we love that joke. So congratulations, Muralan Haran. You are the winner of the Simon Williams Cup.
Yes. Oh, what a nice way to start your day with some coffee or tea and a Simon mug. And did we see any pawns promote to queens today?
Ooh, good question. No, but we saw lots of H-pawn pushers. Harry the H-pawn marching down the board in actually most of the games. So Simon was here in spirit.
Yes, definitely. And so are all of you. Thank you for watching, everyone. And join us again tomorrow for the final day of the Aimchess Rapid. Will it be Duda or will it be a comeback by Mamadjarov? Join us for the action. As always, 5:45 CET. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.